Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sim Grid and to Kyalami in South Africa for the final round of Season 2 of the Sim Grid Sprint Cup. David Christie and Luke Rogers here with you tonight, bringing you all of the action. What a season, Luke, it's been already. We've been to the likes of Brands Hatch, Misano, Barcelona, Monza, and tonight Kyalami. Some very, very interesting conditions looking out there on the scenic cams tonight. Look, everything is to play for.
We've had a bit of almost everything this season. We've had challenging tracks. I think tracks that people are perhaps quite well experienced with, in tracks like Barcelona and Monza. But the one thing we haven't done is gone to a track that's not in Europe, and that's what we're doing tonight at Kyalami. One of my favourite tracks, a track that is extremely challenging to get right, especially if it rains like we think it might. And for a final race of the season, on a track like this where it's difficult to overtake, there could be a lot of drama in this race.
There certainly could. So much is at stake tonight. At the moment, at the top of the championship table stands aloft the 888 machine of Coach Dave Academy, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, 175 points there. You can see on the right hand side of your screen. It's then the Sidemax Motorworks 96 Sprint Cup, the Merc there on 151. That's of course Tinko van der Velde and Lucas Kreuzer. And then in third place, it's Coach Dave Academy, the 889 Lexus, and in there, of course, in the 147 points, you've got David Perel, Joe McCauley, James Parker, and Vicky Thompson have been on that squad this season. So we'll have a look at who is taking part tonight. Jardier Community on 131 points in fourth place in the 39 Bentley, and the 214 Bentley Continental of Innocent Sprint Z of Ross McGregor, John Monroe, taking part tonight. So that is your top five. Realistically, for the championship tonight, the 96 Luke has very much got his work cut out.
Yeah, I think the second and third place cars right now, the 96 and the 889, are kind of hoping for a miracle. We were doing the maths, which is always a risky business in commentary. We were doing the maths just before this with Michael, and the 888 car needs a 11th place finish, I think, to guarantee a win. 12th place finish to guarantee the win, provided the 96 car wins the race, which, by the way, they haven't done all this season. So we're kind of looking at I think perhaps a miracle for those chasing pack, but anything can happen. I think at a track like Kyalami, where there's a threat for some quite scary conditions, which might favour that Mercedes in second place, it's definitely not over.
Well, this looks much more like poiky weather that we had there as we cut back to the heavy rainstorms. But you mentioned that the 96 basically needs to have a dream race tonight. And not only that, I mean, if, for instance, the 888 car of Coach Dave Academy finishes in 11th, I mean, that's awesome because they finish on joint points. However, because the CDA team have won 2 races and automatically therefore one more than the 96 outfit, they will inherit the win on that drawn points. But we digress, and without further ado, while practice is ongoing, I think it's time to head over to our hot lap tonight, and I believe it's a Honda that we've got taking us round the track.
It's a rare occurrence seeing a Honda NSX being used for a hot lap, but this is a track where it's surprisingly good, and with those CDA setups, I think it's good in every track. But it's an awkward track. This you're braking around the 100 meters mark for turn 1 Crowthorne. It's a first gear left-hander, but you have to make sure you carry a lot of speed through the corner because you can lose a lot of time by slowing down too much. The right-hand sweep there is flat in the dry, down to second gear for barbecue. This left-hander, you want to touch that curb on the inside, but you can unsettle your car so easily. And if you lose that exit speed, you lose time all the way down this straight on the run to Sunset Bend. You want to get as far to the left as possible, and then sweep in, use a little bit of the brake to get your car turning in and run wide onto that curbing, but don't touch the grass because it will spin you out. Again, braking down to second gear, using curb on the inside, but once again, trying not to get that car unsettled. You've got the S's here now, swinging to the left-hander. Once again, another curb you want to touch on both sides here. But you can pretty much stay flat through that right-hander in the dry. In the wet, it's an entirely different beast. You're up to the top of the hill here in Loikop. You're down to first gear, again carrying a lot of speed through the corner, just like turn 1, and you want to get back on the throttle early for the run down the hill, because carrying speed through here can gain you so much time. A flat out left-hander here, in the wet it's not flat, and it's a very scary corner, but in the dry it's an easy one. You head down here to Crocodile, break it down to first gear, touch that curb on the inside. You can get quite wide here on the exit and use a lot of that curb to carry a lot of exit speed. A quick right-hander here, but avoid that curb on the inside, because you touch that, you're going in the wall. One more turn to go, you break it down again to first gear, again touch that curb on the inside, again get back on the throttle early and run wide, and it's a run to the line, shortest line to the finish for a lap of Kyalami.
Thank you very much for that, Luke Rogers. An excellent little guide round the track here at Kyalami. To celebrate the fact that we're in South Africa tonight, Luke, I've got a little plate of biltong beside me that I shall be feasted on through the course of the next 90 minutes. But we're qualifying just now for the next 20, and conditions looking, it's not looking the best. The fact that the window wipers are going 10 to the dozen kind of shows everything right now for Vasily and Nufriev, and you can see the rain starting to pelt down, and it's just going to get heavier and heavier, Luke. So I think this is probably the next 5 minutes are going to be the fastest laps that we'll see.
And one thing that's worth pointing out is that this is a track where it's very difficult to overtake at. So that initial track position you gain in qualifying is crucial. And when you have these conditions where it's damp, where you're still going to be on those dry tyres, this is the time where you have to get that perfect lap in before the rain comes down. As you said, it's getting harder, so these early laps will probably be the fastest. You have to get that first lap in perfect to have any chance really of having a good qualifying position. And that's where teams like the 888 could get caught out. If they make a mistake on that lap and the 96 gets a good qualifying position, who knows, suddenly we've got a championship fight on our hands.
We certainly do. And just looking at the championship standings just now, it's a wonderful example of just the sheer closeness of the pace that we've got here, Luke. The fact that, outside of the Triple Eight in the lead at the moment, you've got, about maybe 6 or 7 cars that are within 30 points of each other on the championship. I mean, that really shows the parity that we've got on display throughout the championship.
Yeah, we've had 4 races and we've had 3 different race winners, and only one of those race winners is in the top 5. It's such a close battle, and I think it's a testament to the consistency of those teams right at the top, where if you take the 889 currently in 3rd place, the worst finish is 10th. The team below them, the Jardy Community Car, worst finish is 13th. Team in 5th, worst finish is 9th. Those teams haven't necessarily had the best individual races. 6th and 8th place have both won a race, but they've had that consistency across the season that's given themselves a nice sort of points buffer. And as you said, we've been talking about the battle for the win, the battle for the championship, but I mean that's not the only position on the leaderboard. We've got a really close battle for 4th place. All those teams in that battle with a miracle race could break into the top 3. All the teams in the top 3 have perhaps an outside shot, but a shot at the championship. And you go further down, there's all that bragging rights all throughout the championship. So it's one of those races right now where everyone is going to be pushing as hard as they can, putting in as much effort as they can to get those perfect laps in, get that perfect sort of season. We're seeing some early performance from the Bentleys. We were sort of expecting the Lamborghinis and the Porsches to be good here. They're the traditional cars around here in terms of pace. The Audi as well you can include, but I don't think we have one in the field. But with these damp conditions, suddenly you're looking at those cars with the longer wheelbases, with a slightly more stable platform that are going to be further up the leaderboard. There's 3 Bentleys that have started well. The BMW we're watching right now, a car that usually doesn't do that great in ACC, it might be a bit of a surprise today.
We'll have to see how that goes, but
there it goes, the pole.
Unbelievable lap there from Martin Schumacher. I do have a bit of a fond spot from for the BMW. As I said, when I started playing this sim around about a year or so ago, that was the first car that I took because it was stable. It really, I struggled to get to grips with the Porsche or the Ferrari and things like that. But that car was just so smooth and so stable, and it always, it kind of made me sad, the fact that we don't really see it, because let's face it, for the most part, it's not as fast. It's not got the pace. It's not got the legs of the other cars. However, here in the wet, I mean, it's definitely holding its own right now. Still 14 minutes left to go, but the track is going to deteriorate. You've got to feel even more over the next 14 minutes. But Martin Schumacher up into pole position there, 147. Almost a 147 flat. I've got no doubt we're going to see the 146s, maybe even lower than that, because Valentin Barrier, 0.6 of a second, it's going to be a 46. I think he's going to do a 46.6, maybe even a 46.5 as he goes across the line. So Valentin Barrier, 46.4. Wow. Well, you better get the bri on, Luke, because this is starting to get a little bit toasty here.
Yeah, I have an irrational hatred for Bentleys after recent events. A certain Kieran Prendergast that we know very well punted me out of an endurance race last week in a Bentley whilst we were doing very well. So I'm a little bit miffed at a Bentley doing well. But look who's in second place, the 96 Mercedes, who obviously is second place in the championship. They need a miracle run. And right now, the 88 car down in 10th place, 1.6 seconds off. It's certainly... I think the conditions right now are showing. Those cars that have the slightly more stable platform currently occupy the top 5, and that Bentley, the surprise BMW and the 2 Mercedes. If we get a race where the conditions are dry, it's going to be intriguing to see whether the 888 is able to come back through the field. But they're going to have to take some risk. 10th place would be enough if the 96 wins the race, but you expect they'll have to take some risk during the race, and then it becomes a potential for drama. So I'd kind of love if the standing stayed something like this towards the end of qualifying.
I promise you, we have not scripted this whatsoever. So let's paint the picture for you, for those that have just started joining us just now. Lucas Kreuzer in the 96 outfit is second place in the championship. If they were somehow to win this race tonight, then we look at the current championship leaders, the Triple 8 outfit that Gregor Schill is in just now. They're down in 10th place. If they go to 11th place, they draw the championship, but the 888 takes it. However, if they go down to 12th place, then the 96 win the championship. Suddenly, what looked like a foregone conclusion, Igor Ogorodnikov. Oh wow, like and subscribe, 560. That was around and around and around the corner, but actually it was on the straight. So I think he just caught a little bit of the curb there. Curbs being lava tonight. And that is an unfortunate position to join him, shall we say. We know that Igor is very, very fast, but I've got to be honest, that Gregor Schill now down into 11th place. I don't know if that Ferrari is going to have the pace on this, purely because the track is so wet and that car will struggle. Look at the rest of the Ferraris as well. The Lamborghini is improving. That Mercedes is that Cody Cright in the 69 Mercedes. He'll certainly be up into the top 10 as well, Luke. And things starting to look a little bit ropey as the rain intensifies here.
And you touched on the curbs being a very terrifying beast at this track. We saw in that hot lap how much curb you want to be using, especially on the inside of corners. You cut onto those curbs to get a little bit of turn in, a little bit of extra sort of ground through the corners. But in the wet, when you do that, you run such a risk, especially in these conditions where you're on dry tyres, of losing that grip on your inside tyres and either spinning out or understeering off and going off track. And in the race, it's not as big an issue if you have a small moment here or there. If you have a big one, it's going to be a big issue. But in qualifying, in these conditions where the track is getting wetter and wetter, you need to be putting in good laps early. And if you're not able to do that, if you can't get your laps in now because you're having those kind of spins, you're going to be a lot further down the leaderboard than perhaps you should be on raw pace.
Just watching Zahir Essa here, currently on track to potentially take 5th place here up on the likes of Jack Noller, so look for him to squeeze, actually scrub that. He's going to go up into 3rd or 4th now. He does, 3rd place, the 777 of Zahir Essa. That was a mega lap there from the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo of Coach Z Racing Academy. This is Florian Becker in the Scuderia Team 111, currently 1.9 up, and he goes into 10th position. And look at that, Gregor Schell now down into 14th place. This has got so many championship connotations tonight. This was a huge lap for John Monroe in the 214 NSN Racing Team. He's 7/10 up. He's going to go up into P7. They are currently 5th in the championship just now and looking to leapfrog the number 39 Jardier Community Team car, who is way down the order here. This is Gregor Schildo in the Coach David Academy 888 car right now. He's 8/10 up. That's only going to be good enough for 10th position, believe it or not, just behind James Bacon in the 125 Nissan. He goes 1 second ahead now, and that is possibly going to be sandwiched in between 5, 6, 7 place. We'll see as he comes across the line. What can he do? This is James Parker in the 889. It's a huge lap for James Parker in the Lexus. He's going to surely go up to pole position. 146.314. A huge lap there. Back to Gregor Schell in the treble 8 car. He's now 1.5 seconds up on his previous lap as well. Oh my goodness me, you just don't know where to look. Florian Becker is going to be completing a lap as well in the 111 Scuderia car. And look, this is just all going off right now. Gregor...
The 888 just shot up to 3rd place. It was looking pretty bad for them, and the Ferraris in general looked to be struggling, and all of a sudden they're having a bit of a resurgence. So I think that's all about just getting confidence in the track conditions, right? We were saying that they're probably getting a little bit worse, but it doesn't really feel like anyone bar maybe Valentin Barrier was able to sort of put that good lap in right at the start. So it's given people an opportunity to optimize their laps, to find exactly where they can improve on their lap times, and and get towards the top of the leaderboard. And the 96 car is hating that, but a driver that's loving it right now, Valentin Barrier, puts himself back onto pole after he was briefly kicked off it. It's pretty close between them and the 889, but that was a pretty good lap there.
Yeah, that was a very, very fast lap. This is James de Havilland for the 349 NCL Motorsport team, just coming around the final corner, and currently down in 21st position. But this is looking a fast lap, going to move him up to P16. No, actually P18. That moves him up. This was your brief pole sitter in the BMW now. Walking Horse Motorsport BMW, Martin Schumacher in the 721. And we see Jack Noller as well. So this is really developing quite nicely, because Jack Noller on the board for 3rd or 4th position. He goes 3rd indeed, and 1/10 of a second off of pole position. So while the track might be deteriorating, these wet tyres really giving the drivers a little bit of confidence and letting them know exactly where they can push.
I'm curious actually what tyres they're on, because I'd expect they're still on slicks right now. Because the track is still in damp conditions, so I think we're still sort of right on the edge of where slicks are the fastest tyres, especially when I'm looking at the lap times. I'm thinking to my own experience driving this track. I mean, I can't do a 46 in damp conditions, but you would usually expect the track to. We're actually hearing it's a mixture. A lot of the drivers towards the top are actually making that switch to wet tyres, so clearly they're working out. I expect in the race, if we have these conditions, they might go to dry tyres, purely because temperatures will probably skyrocket after a few laps. But in these conditions where you only need, you need your tyres to last 1 lap, right, in these conditions to put that lap time in. It's not that much of an issue if after 2 or 3 laps they overheat, because it doesn't really matter. So I expect, from what we're hearing, a lot of the drivers at the top are on those wet tyres. But if it stays the same like this for the race, I think they might transition back to dries.
Yeah, we'll certainly see how that one pans out. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to the PPR esports sprint team of Cody Pride and Adam C. What a great race they had last time out at Monza, because they've had a difficult season with mid-pack finishes, but they actually got a 7th place at Monza last time out, and that was their best performance. That put them all the way up into 12th position in the championship league. So it does show you, while we're obviously, and for known reasons, we're going to have an eye on the top 4 in the championship, top 5 in the championship. There's so many places at stake here, and again, I look from say 10th place down to 21st place, and that's only 30 points between the two. Between the 10 places there.
Yeah, it's intriguing. The thing I'm surprised by is just how much sort of spread we have right now. We usually expect the top 20 to be within a second, and sometimes it's even closer than that. We see on some tracks, especially the slightly shorter ones, where it's closer to 8-7 tenths. And right now, we've got top 20 of 2 seconds spread out, and really a lot of that's towards the front. We have those big gaps, 8th to 9th, 13th to 14th, and then 14th, 15th, 16th are all pretty spread out as well. So there's a pretty clear, I think, divide in this field right now between the drivers that are maybe confident and well practiced in the wet and the ones that perhaps have a bit less experience or a bit less practice in these conditions. And it's almost going to create sort of like if that kind of pace stays in the race, you're going to get these sort of packs forming between the front of the grid and the back, right? And that will sort of turn it into almost like a multi-class race. And even though it's a sprint race, I think we might have quite a lot of traffic across the race, which could be an intriguing sort of factor. If that traffic has a slight mistake when you're trying to drive around them, and you're, let's say, the 888 car, there's a freeway and some drama that can really help the 96.
Yeah, it certainly is an interesting one for sure. I'm also just looking at the YouTube chat. A very good evening to everybody that is on our YouTube live stream tonight. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell as well, and you will be able to see all the amazing events that we do here. But Shanti in the YouTube chat wants to know, will Vasily Anufriev survive tonight? That's a bit harsh. And a decent qualifying performance at the moment, mid-pack 14th place for Vasily Anufriev in the 56 like and subscribe team. I mean, it's been a difficult season for Vasily, and obviously sharing the car with Igor Ogorodnikov in that 56. But if it wasn't for that did not the DNS at Misano, it could have been a very different championship for them, Luke.
You say that, but their best finish was 8th place. It's really been a championship to forget for them. One of the contenders in the World Cup, I can't remember exactly where they finished off the top of my head, but they've been sort of perennial contenders in pretty much every series SimGrid's run. And to see a series like this where they've had 2 8th place finishes, a DNS, and what was it, a 29th, I think it was the other one. It's such a rough season for them, and quite a surprising one, but I want to see them have that sort of performance we know they can have. They're 14th in qualifying right now, but a couple of tenths will move them up. Well, I say that, half a tenth will move them up a couple more positions. I think if the conditions go back to drying, this is a track that favours the Lamborghini in the drive, so they should be able to make a bit of progress. I want to see them have a nice clean race, a good one, and maybe beat that 8th place that is their best of the season.
You certainly get the feeling that they're capable of so much more. Certainly the drivers, the individual drivers, have got the pace. Just hearing the ears there again, John Munro in the 214 NSN sprint car, moving back up into the top 10. But another point there, Luke, and setting itself up nicely for the races. We've got less than a minute to go in qualifying. 14 cars, 15 cars now within 1 second. We see Jarno Kausch here in the 911 Porsche. He's currently half a second up right now. That's going to move him into 16th place potentially. If he gets a little bit more, then he'll move between sort of 13th, 14th and 15th place. But I think it's going to be around about sort of 14th, 15th position for Jarno Kausch. Goes across the line, It's not. He's lost it on the last sector there. 1.1 second behind the leader, and the pole goes up again. James Parker just pops in a 1:46.07 second, and Valentin Barry here 2/10 up right now. This is potentially enough to take pole position if he can hold it out the final corner. Here is the last roll of dice then for Valentin Barry. In fact, he gets across the line and he's got enough to get one more lap. So that didn't happen. Wow, look, this is all going to be on this final lap here.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Parker's improving, so it's going to be really difficult to beat him. But and there's a car right in the way, but he gets away with it. I don't think he'll have lost any time there. That was almost a nightmare for the current pole sitter, who is up, and I think might get held up here a little bit by this Ferrari. He's going to have a little bit of dirty air from the car in front of him. It's not a massive issue in GT3s, especially in a Lexus, which doesn't have any front grip anyway. So it should be okay. But if he can't improve this lap time because of this hold up here, well, actually the car goes straight on, so he'll be okay. He might have lost a little bit of time, but I don't think it'll be a qualifying ender for him. I think he's still up, so we should see an improvement here. But as you said, he's not the only car that's still on a lap. He's not the only car that could still go pole here. I think a little bit wide, but I don't think it'll be an issue through the sweeping left-hander there. I'm intrigued to see exactly what he can do, and I'm also, I mean, where is the 39? Are they looking good right now? Yeah, and the 39 is having he's gone off track there, Parker, but the 39 is having issues on their lap. They're a couple tenths down already, so we're sort of expecting the top two to stay the same, bar a miracle from be deep, a bit of a moonball from one of the drivers, maybe in 5th place. But I think we're seeing a bit of a status quo here. No one's really improving across their lap time, so this might be a bit of an as you were, a bit of an anticlimax here in this last lap. But is anyone going to improve as Schill crosses the line? He does improve, but not by position. By 0.003 of a second, he stays in 5th place, but he's ahead of the 96 car, ahead of his championship contenders, so I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's an awesome qualifying session there, and as you can see, 11 cars within a second of the leader here. Here's your qualifying end for the final round of the sim grids for our World Cup. It's the 889 of James Parker on pole position alongside Valentin Barrier. Then it is Jack Noller alongside Sean Arnold for row 2. Row 3 is going to be Gregor Schill and Florian Becker. Row 4 is going to be Martin Schumacher and Lucas Kreuzer. Row 5 is going to be Zahir Essa alongside John Monroe. Igor Ogorodnikov alongside James Bacon for row 6. Nick Babin and Cody Pride make up row 7. Row 8 is going to be Vasily Anufriev, Ivan Shermantinsky, and then it's the 911 and 999 of Jan Okaush and Jan Kaminski on row 9. Row 10 is going to be George Boothby and James de Havilland. And then after that, we've got 21st place is Adrian Antamarchi, 22nd is Andrea Bernadetti, 23rd is Andre Felix, 24th is Maximilian Vedi, 25th is Rhys Tattersall, and 26th is Filip Witzak. At the back of the grid, Gabriel Semeraro. Again, it's a 90-minute race. We do have teammates involved in this, and we will tell you about the teammates as soon as we get to the grid. So we are getting ready to go live here at Kyalami then for the final round of Season 2 of the SimGrid World Cup. We'll take a very, very short commercial break, and we will be right back. So, difficult conditions here. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the SimGrid Sprint Cup, Season 2. Sprint Cup. And we are at our final race. We are at Kyalami. We've made it all the way through to the end of the season. We've done Brands Hatch, we've done Misano, we've done Barcelona, we've done Monza, and we are about to do Kyalami in the nicest sense possible. James Parker on pole alongside Valentin Barrier, and it's the 888 car of Alaric Enslin in 5th place, who's your championship leader right now, duking it out with that 39 car. But there is all to play for throughout the rest of the field. There will be many scores to settle, and it is all about those more important bragging rights. But I've got to be honest, Luke, there's a massive curveball that we need to talk about. One is that the race starts at 4 a.m. in the morning, and two, where has all that liquid gone?
Yeah, I think the start time is going to be quite a crucial sort of change in this race. The sort of mid and rear engine cars, at least from my experience, tend to favour those hotter conditions where the tyres don't quite have as much grip, and they use the sort of weight of the car as a sort of crutch. And cars like the 888, the Lexus, which we have obviously on pole with the 889, tend to struggle in those hotter conditions when they can't rely on that tyre grip to get around the lack of downforce and the sort of lack of turning that car has. So these colder conditions, I think, will favour something like the 96, the 889, 560 in 11th place is another car that should really like these conditions. But as you mentioned, there's no rain, the track isn't damp, so we're sort of looking at the normal contenders in terms of the cars, right? The cars that usually do well around here are the Lamborghinis and the Porsches. But where's the highest one? 6th place Porsche, 9th place Lamborghini. Both those cars should be coming through the field. The Bentley, the car that traditionally is not that great around here, changes with those changing conditions when that stable platform it has really gives it a big crutch and enables it to do well. I expect the 39 and the 14 are going to struggle to hold on to those positions. But once again, it's a track where it's hard to overtake. So I think that changing in the conditions is going to cause some drama through the field as people trying to come through, perhaps get a bit more aggressive than it would because it's the final race of the season. I'm expecting a pretty good one.
I'm looking at the number 721 car of Stefan Zero at the moment, and it might just be being a massive Scottish pessimist, but I do worry that car is about to get eaten for lunch right now in these dry conditions. It had half a chance in the wet, but I don't know how competitive that car is going to be in these drier conditions, Luke.
Something that Michael is putting out in our ears is that the car right at the front is, I think it's the car everyone knows is a rocket in a straight line. I mean, there are not many straight lines at Kyalami, but the ones where there are straight lines, especially that start-finish straight, is the main overtaking opportunity. So it's going to be very difficult, I think, to overtake that car. But with it being a high downforce track, it's a track where you want to put high rear wing, high rake on, especially something like a Lexus, which doesn't usually have a lot of downforce. You want to be putting a lot on it. So it might be that actually that car doesn't necessarily do as well in a straight line as we think. I'm curious how they will set up the car. You kind of have those changing setups depending on your track position. If you're back in the field, you want a car that's perhaps a little bit faster in a straight line. You want a car that's easier to overtake with, and you perhaps sacrifice a bit of overall speed. But I think if you're towards the front, you probably want a car that's just better purely in clean air, which means a lot of downforce. So maybe that 889 is going to be a surprise package and be a contender for the win.
Well, we know how much you do love the Lexus, so we'll keep our fingers very much crossed over the next hour and a half. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a 90-minute race. 2 drivers taking part in the race for the teams tonight. The pit stop window will open with 50 minutes to go in the race. It then stays open for 10 minutes. All drivers must come in, and the pit stops must be complete outside. They must be complete inside that pit window for them to count as the mandatory pit stop. You can come in at any point before that, but it will not count as your mandatory pit stop, and you must change tyres during that pit window stop. They will get a penalty of 130 seconds. The team will receive a 1 minute 10 second penalty. In fact, no, sorry, that's 2 minutes 10 seconds if my brain would actually come up to speed here. If the drivers don't do a stint. Yes, exactly. I wish it was on the whiskey tonight. Might be a little bit more alert, but we've got plenty of time to get ourselves up to speed here, because James Parker in that 889 Lexus is going to lead the cars away around the circuit here at Kyalami. And for the final time this season, Luke, who's your money on tonight?
Well, I think it depends where the question is. Who's my money on for the championship? I think it has to be the 888 with where it is. Who's my money on for this race? I'm kind of liking that 111 Porsche. It's not easy to overtake in that car, but it is a car that's very fast at this track. And they're a team that's shown glimpses of the pace that I think they have as a team. So I want to see them fight for the win tonight. I think they have the pace. They definitely have the car for it. And I think they have the track position as well.
Well, the car's just making their way down to look up for the first time then on our formation lap. And it's going to be very interesting to see that Triple Eight car of Gregor Schill right now, because they are on really, they must be on high alert right now, given their place in the championship, and also all of the other cars around them are going to be so desperate to get as far up the order as quickly as possible, and they're really just going to be trying to keep themselves to themselves tonight.
Yeah, one thing in terms of the championship that I think is worth bringing up, we're talking about the 96 and the 888 being the championship contenders, but it's only a 4-point gap down to the 889. So if the 888 car does have issues, maybe it's involved in a bit of drama at the start of the race, with this track position for the 889 car, they put themselves in a position where they could actually win the championship. I think they'd need a 14th or a 15th from the 888 car, which, given they're in 5th place in qualifying, you'd probably expect they'd need to be involved in an incident, but they've certainly put themselves in a lot better position than the 96 car. And obviously, as things stand, they would take 2nd place in the championship to make it a CDA 1-2, which I think would be pretty cool for the band, a pretty good sign for their setups, at least, if they can get 1-2 in the championship.
Well, here we go then, rounding way for the first time. The cars lining up. James Parker and Valentin Barrier going to ride the cars across the line for the final time this season in the SimGrid Sprint Cup. We get ready to go green, and away we go then. James Parker rolling down into the first corner, through the kink and down in towards Crawthorne. It's all pretty much okay just now, but it's going to be onto the brakes for turn number 1. And yeah, this is going to be an epic race tonight. You can just feel it. 90 minutes of awesomeness, and it's David Christie and Luke Rogers taking you through every single step of the way. That Bentley in 2nd place of Valentin Barrier, the 39 car, looking very, very racy indeed. And all of the cars looks like surviving those first couple of turns, Luke.
Yeah, there's a couple of crunch points on this lap 1. The first is that sweeping right-hander that makes up turn 2. The second one is the S's coming up right in that middle sector, and the third one is around that hairpin towards the end of the lap in Crocodile. So we've got through the first one safely. It's looking good for now, but we've got 2 more to come, and the second one, here it comes now. This is a point where it's very easy to make a mistake, especially on cold tyres and green track, with that high fuel after coming off qualifying, and when you're in this big pack, it's so easy to have mistakes right now. It looks like we're having a pretty clean start.
It's been a terrible start for Gregor Schill in the 888 car, all the way down to 9th position, and it looks like he's just behind the 560, so possibly down to 10th. There we go. Yegor Ogorodnikov in the 560 gets past him, but George Buffet in that 99, that's been 6 places that he's made up. 7 places, I'm just hearing in my ear, that he's made up on that start. So lightning start for that Mercedes, and as predicted, that BMW goes down. Oh, side by side, and Gregor Schill gets contact. He's gone down. That's got to be at least 13th position, and this is all he had to do, was keep it strong and stable for the final race, and this has thrown the cat amongst the pigeons, Luke. Oh my goodness me, game on.
I think that that lap 1's been about as strong and stable as the person who invented that phrase.
I'm glad you got that.
13th place right now. They're 1 position inside of where they need to be, I believe. They're 1 position ahead in terms of the fight with the 889. I said it's a 4-point gap down to the 96. It was 12th place they needed to beat the 96 car. I think it's 14th if I can do my maths, to beat the 889 car.
Well, they're down to 15th.
It's getting close, and they're down to 15th, so they're 1 place away now, and they're just going backwards. That a bit of early damage and a bit of early confidence. Well, that's not what you ought to be doing, Gregor Schill. Keep that car on the road, get out of trouble. And he dives down the inside. A nice switchback move here on the Nissan, but a Nissan is a notoriously difficult car to pass. He's got the inside line for the S's, but I said this was a very, very scary place to go side by side. They survive by conceding the position. They're inside by a point in the championship. We're 3 minutes into a 90-minute race, and there's already drama all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on with that Ferrari right now, because they are really, really struggling. But a beautiful move up the inside of James Bacon there. They're side by side. I think this is on the run down mine shaft just now. What a race this is, and we're only 4 minutes in. Oh my goodness me, Gregor Schill's giving us all heart palpitations right now. Seems to have got a little bit of a gap. Look at that battle behind James Bacon there. Pirelli and Kaminsky side by side as they do the run down towards Cheetah. And this is going to be on to the final corner to complete lap number 1. And yeah, this isn't over yet. And Gregor Schill, with all the work in the world to do, he is a long way from home. And those cars are going to be hunting in the next half an hour.
Yeah, the one thing Gregor needed to do on lap 1 was not get involved in a major incident, and he tried pretty much as hard as he could to get involved in one, but he wasn't able to. He had a couple of minor ones, and it's pushed him back in the championship, but he's still in it. I think that's the important thing for them. They've not put themselves, outside the top 20 with a spin, or they've not given themselves a lot of damage with a hit. So they're still in there. They're currently just inside in terms of what they need to win, but something worth pointing out, that 10-second penalty for the 125 car is not for any contact. It's just because James is driving on his own tonight, and that's how we officiate around here. We give people a 10-second penalty if their second driver can't take part in the race. I think it's a fair way to balance it. It enables that one driver to compete for the championship still, but in a 90-minute race, 10 seconds can be a big penalty.
And just seeing there as we see Gregor Schill getting a little bit of a gap there, I'm just trying to figure out what has happened to him though, because that car doesn't look like it's got the pace that he normally has. We'll keep an eye on his lap times to see how he does in clear air, but I've got to be honest, I get the feeling that Jano Kausch in front of him is actually gapping him quite considerably. 2.1 seconds as we see Zahir Essa on the inside in that Lamborghini, trying to take place from Yigar Ogorondikov. Yigar is a seasoned driver. I don't think that's going to be happening from him. But yeah, this is a crazy start to the championship. Boothby on the edge right now, Luke, of getting into the top 10 after an amazing start.
Yeah, we go back to the 88 car. They're not necessarily gaining on the 911 in front of them, but they are starting to pull that gap on James Bacon, who looks like he's turning into a bit of a roadblock for the cars behind. And that's a bit of I think it's going to be quite crucial, because this 15th that they need to stay away from in terms of the championship right now. And if James is going to be that roadblock, at least for the first stint here, because Nissan, good straight line speed on a track where it's not easy to overtake, it's going to take a while for a Porsche to get around it. So, getting into that clean air I think is really important for Gregor. It minimises the chances of incidents. It allows him to just drive his own race, build some gaps up and give himself sort of a safety net, I think, for the championship. But realistically, he wants to be doing that a couple of positions further up the standings. This might change now with the 777 car, the Lamborghini. It looks like it's dropping back a little bit and is pulling those cars behind it backwards with it. And that becomes a potential for the 88 to catch on to the back and latch on to the drivers in front of them. Whether that'll happen, I'm not sure. But for now, it looks like a bit of a status quo, a bit of stabilisation for that team. And that is exactly what they need.
Bit of a train going on for 4th, 5th and 6th, but there's a huge battle now going on between 1st and 2nd place. James Parker, Valentin Barry now got that lap down to 3/10 of a second. He went purpled 1:42.249 that last lap round there, and about 3/100ths of a second faster than James Parker. He's going to have the toe out of that final corner, out of Ingwe. They're going to go on the run down towards the kink. Just drops back a little bit. He's not going to make any sort of move whatsoever, is Valentin Barry. He's not that close, but knowing the way that Barry drives, he's a very how do I put this? He's a tactical driver. He won't make any wild lunges. He will wait until he is sure that he can make a move stick. And I'm glad to see him not making me immediately eat my words on that one. But Valentin Barry looking very menacing now in that 2nd place. As far as they're concerned in the championship, he's doing everything that he needs to do. And I'll be honest with you, that gap between Gregor Schill in the 888 car, that's going up. That was 2.1 seconds, it's 2.2. It was 2.3. What's it now? 2.4. Gregor Schill is losing time and he is not able to catch up.
Yeah, but again, the gap behind him is perhaps even more important than the fact that he's falling back from the 911. I don't think he'll care if he finishes 14th and wins the championship. That's, I think, fine for that team. They might want to finish a bit higher in terms of bragging rights, but at the end of the day, if that's what you need to do to win the championship, then that's what you're going to do. So the fact that James is being that roadblock behind right now is going to be, I think, really sort of nice, I think, for that team. The 88 alleviates that pressure, that stress, especially knowing what car it is behind you, because we were saying in the wet how the Lexus is, it's a great car in the wet. Nissan as well is a good car in the wet. And I said, these lower conditions might favour those cars, the ones that don't necessarily have that normal turn-in from the way their aero is set up. But right now, it looks like those cars are struggling. I think the BMW as well is not looking massively fast. I mean, Zero is still doing a pretty good job in terms of keeping up with Kreuzer. But we can see he's starting to fall back into the clutches of that Lamborghini behind him, who's in fact just overtaken him there. So moving up to 8th place is Esser in the 777. But we're sort of seeing those cars that traditionally struggle with front end starting to slip back now and starting to fall further back in the standings. 4.5 second gap now between Schill and Bacon. They're loving that.
Just hearing that the number 69 car of Cody Pride has crashed out, the PPR Esports sprint car on Cheetah on that final corner there. They've dropped down even further back, and again we will obviously keep tabs on the entirety of the field. But you were saying about Gregor Schill, about him relaxing, knowing that he's 4.9 seconds ahead of James Bacon. That's going to be absolutely irrelevant if Valentin Barry gets past James Parker, because at that point Valentin Barry has done enough to take the championship on the roads. With that case, he's only 0.3 of a second. Again, that might be my wonky maths.
No, it's the 96 car, not the 39.
Oh, sorry. We'll ignore that. Sorry, buddy. Yeah.
So the 889, the one in the lead right now, needs, I think it's 15th in the 888. And then obviously the 96 car, as we see, that's what put the 69 pretty much out of the race. So should be a fair whack of damage from that wall hit. And luckily, it doesn't look like they got collected. So maybe not race-ending damage, but I think in terms of track position, it might as well be racing. So hearing that the car is heavily damaged, they're struggling to drive it. So I expect this might be a DNF. It's unfortunate. Last race of the season, a car that's not perhaps been explosive in terms of their finishes, but they've certainly been a contender here or there. They've shown themselves, I think, in certain races. There've been glimpses, and I think really the whole field's done that. Pretty much every team in this field has had at least one race where they've been challenging for a good finish, and I think that's a testament to exactly how close this field is, and perhaps the testament especially to the 888 car, who's been such a dominant force so far this season with the worst finish of 6th. And the fact that they've had that consistency at the front in such a tight field is pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, it's been an awesome performance there. And just saying, I think that's Jarno Kausch just taking a position there, 11th place from Anufriev there. Anufriev goes down to 12th position. There's your live championship standings then. The Triple Eight Coach Dave Academy. Boothby has fallen off the
he just dropped 10 positions in.
Yeah, he's down at 17th place.
If we can find a replay of that, I think he must have had a moment somewhere. Whether he's just got off, into the gravel, or if he's had a bigger incident. But
James Bacon off as well. Bacon's off at the S's, so that is a huge mistake for him. There's
George. Boothby's off in the S's, and Bacon was off in Sunset. Yeah, so two drivers that are having a pretty decent race so far, both having incidents, and that's so unfortunate for Boothby, who have been ploughing through the field. He was up, I think, 9 positions off his start to be back. Actually worse than where he started now, right towards the back of the field. I just saw him dropping through the time screens. I was curious exactly what was happening, whether he had a small moment, but it was a much bigger one, and he was lucky not to get beached on that curb.
Yeah, you hate to say it. 1 hour 17 minutes left to go, and we have had about an hour's worth of entertainment already from the first 13 minutes of this race. Look, it's been awesome stuff to watch. It's still James Parker in the lead in the 889 Coach Dave Academy Lexus, just ahead of Valentin Barrier in the number 39 car, who I was getting excited for, I've got to be honest, thinking there was championship implications. Of course, they are 4th in championship. This is a replay, and it looks like George Boothby is getting chased by the Porsche, and up the inside tries the Porsche. Is there contact? Oh, there is contact. Oh no. I just, the fact that the replay is still going makes me kind of a little bit worried as to what's going to happen here, but no, he just gets going again.
But then he had that second moment in the S's. Yeah, so he had a second spin in the S's. I'm curious whether he had assistance with that. A couple of corners later, it's 2 turns from now where he had his second moment. Obviously, it was James Bacon that had a incident in that corner on actually the same lap. So we're going to see a second moment coming up now. I think it's going to happen through this left-hander. Whether he just spins out on his own, I'm not sure. Yeah, he's going to lose it on his own. Just gets a bit of oversteer and turn, and he's lucky not to come back through the field there as he beaches on that curb on the inside. It could have been a monumental crash. Instead, it's just a medium-sized. I believe he's now quit from the race, coming into the pit lane. We understand he's left the server, so George Boothby has left the building. So that's another driver leaving the field. But it's unfortunate to see a driver go out. I mean, what I saw there was the Porsche was sort of using him as almost like a ruler. It's something if you come out of a corner side by side, you sometimes use the second car. As we see the spin on his own, I think, for James Bacon there. But you sometimes use that outside car as sort of a gauge for where the edge of the track is. And if they go slightly wide onto that outside curb, which you do through the barbecue corner, where that first incident happened, they obviously then need to come back onto the track. And when that happens, because you followed them out, they're going to come back across the track and spin themselves in your nose. So it's really a case of the Porsche following him out and not recognizing that he needs to come back left to stop himself from going on the grass. And a bit of an unfortunate moment for both drivers there. And I expect we're probably going to see the stewards weigh in, not in the favour of the Porsche.
Brilliant little battle going on here for 18th and 19th place. It's Tattersall on the outside in the Aston Martin. That's Jan Kaminski on the inside in the 999 car. Looks to have that done in the iconic Keck Racing colours. We can see a Ferrari of Anta Marchi in the 181 going around the outside as well. He's feeling a bit plucky, tried to have a go, but Tattersall just holds on. Picture in picture here for the Sprint Cup. You can see the battle for the lead between Parker and Barrier as well. Barrier still trying desperately to close up. And just to give you an update, Jarno Kausch dropping behind Vasily Anufriev getting that position done again. And great to see that going on just now. An hour and 14 minutes left to go, so we're barely 15 minutes into this race, and it really is all kicking off. Zahir Essa just gets ahead of Lucas Kreuzer there, and that was a very quick move. We'll see that update just update itself on the time screen shortly. But I mean, this battle for the leads, it looks to be calming down and a little bit of a gap opening up there, Luke.
Yeah, what you're seeing right now is the Lexus being a car that's pretty much impossible to overtake. The Bentley just doesn't have that grunt in a straight line, especially with the BOP of this track to get that overtake done. And I think what's going to have to happen is they're going to need to employ a bit of strategy. They're going to need to get their pits perfect. They're going to need to choose the right time to make that pit stop. Obviously, you've got the 10-minute window to do it. But briefly, here's the penalties up on screen. We saw 2 15-second penalties there. As Mike puts it away exactly as I say that. But the 888 and the 560, I don't think did we see that instant? No, it's been some blocking there. So the 560 further down the field, they're in 10th place. We see some blocking, and then the 11 car as well has got a penalty for contact with the 225, who is now down in 16th place. The 11's actually further below them, so I'm not exactly sure what happened to the 11 and how they were able to make avoidable contact with the car far ahead of them, but I'm sure maybe we'll find I'm a little bit curious about how the 560, how was the 560 blocked?
Well, it's the 560, yeah. And I'll be honest, I think that's very brave from Race Control, because they have angered the mob. They have angered our beloved Igor Ogorodnikov fans, who have decided to kick off in chat asking exactly that same question, Luke. So I'm sure we'll find out in just a second. The lights go on and are ablaze of teams trying to catch up on that BMW. Now, hang on. Igor Ogorodnikov now, I'm quite stunned that Stefan Zero has made me eat my words about that BMW. He's doing a grand job of keeping that M6 in the top 10 right now. And to be honest, the fact that Igor Ogorodnikov might get past him, but he's certainly keeping his own in the pace, and it's exactly as you said before the start there, Luke. That BMW just has incredible rocket-like pace on the straight line.
It pretty much drives like a soap bar with a W16 in it. That's basically how you sum up the experience.
I've never heard it be compared to that before.
well, that's pretty much as accurate a comparison as you ever get. And at tracks like Monza, it makes it quite a competitive car, but in sim, it's I think quite often unfairly treated by the balance of performance. The new GT3 BMW coming through that I think we will at some point get in the sim. At least I'm hoping, because it looks pretty cool, even though it has a weird nose. As we see a bit of a dive bomb there happening right in front of Gregor Schill. There's a moment there between the Bentley and the Porsche, and now we've got a bit of a traffic jam forming, coming into the fast right-hander there. And Schill's off the road again, is 3 wide coming to the final turn. There's going to be a bit of door banging there, a bit of a hip check from the Porsche onto the, I believe that was it the Bentley that got pushed out a little bit wide down, back into the hands of that 777 Lamborghini. But it's all go here right now for the battle for 4th place.
Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit dicey. Oh my goodness me, that Lamborghini has absolutely licked the stamp and sent it. Tries to fire it up the inside. The Bentley's having absolutely none of it, and tries his best to get back onto the tail of Florian Becker there. Goes wide round the corner, and that's going to allow the Lamborghini of Zahir Essa up the inside. It's a drag race now down towards Sunset. I think that's where they're on their way to now. John Munro keeps that place. That Bentley has so much power in a straight line, and still trying to catch up with Florian Becker. This is the battle for the lead. Valentin Barrier for the number 39. That is, of course, the Jardier community car, trying to hunt down the Coach Dave Academy Lexus, the 889 of James Parker at the moment. And you've been very vocal in your support, Luke, of the Lexus. I mean, it's a beautiful car. It's one of the best looking GT3 cars hands down out there. But what else is it about that car that you absolutely adore?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's the characteristics of the car I love. I mean, it's a pig to drive it. It doesn't have any front grip. There's no downforce. It's a slightly higher downforce version of the BMW. It's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit lighter. So, but it's got less downforce. So it's better on a straight line. So that car, it's just so, I think, weird. That's the best way to describe it. It's just a bit different. Historically, I think in GT racing, everyone sort of favours the Audis, the Porsches, the Mercedes. You occasionally get a Ferrari fanboy and a Porsche. Obviously, there's a lot of Porsche fanboys in GT racing, and you sort of get those niche cars like the Lexus. Especially in IMSA in real life. The Vassar Sullivan Lexus car was just getting punished by the BOP for like 3 years, and then had this 1 year where it was just incredible last year, and it pretty much won every race. And I just like rooting for those underdogs, and it was a car that I decided to drive because it was, it's a fast car in the sim, but it's not very often driven, and I sort of fell in love with how bad it drives and how fast it somehow still is.
The plucky underdog story.
Just a true underdog would drive like a BMW or a Rex. You can drive the Gallardo. Just to really screw with your own pace, but I'm not that into self-punishment.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Outside the top 20 then, in 21st place in these other BMW is Ivan Sherman-Tinsky, just getting a penalty there. You can see there a 15-second penalty. It's Filip Witzak in the 57 Mercedes, Alexis Pirali in the 349 Porsche, Cody Pride dropping down in that 69 Mercedes because, of course, still in pit lane, James Bacon and George Boothby retiring from the race. We'll see if we actually get them back out on track. But picture just now, and you're seeing in the main picture here, you were seeing Sean Arnold and Florian Becker with Jack Noller battling it out for third place. This is John Munro just behind Zahir Essa. So Essa's got that move done in the Lambo. He's taken that 6th place from John Munro there, and you'll see that update just very, very shortly. This is Florian Becker, and this is on the run down to turn 1. Thinks better of it, pulls back in by that Ferrari of Sean Arnold, trying to catch up to Jack Noller here. It's a big track for the concertina effect. If you've got 5 or 6 cars that are, toe to toe, it's very easy to see them, one car stretch away by about a second and then suddenly get caught right back up by the pack, Luke.
Yeah, I think what you saw in that straight there was, exactly why that happens. The Porsche was right on the bumper of that Ferrari coming out of the final turn, and in the space of a really short straight, one of the shortest straights in the GT, in ACC, sorry. lost like 3/10. It's such a difficult car to get past people. It's good on the brakes, but you have to be close to them to outbrake them, and it's just not easy to do with a Porsche. So I'm expecting it's going to be very difficult for Becker to make those positions up now. But if he can, use his pit window to get a bit of clean air, get in at the right time and get out at the right time, he could jump a few positions pretty easy with that extra lap time that he seems to have.
We've got quite a few battles going on through here. We've got quite a few group battles. We've obviously got this battle for third place. We see Sean Arnold overcooking it into the corner, thinks better of it and tries to make his way round, but it's not going to happen. Very interested to see the battle for 10th place right now as well, because Vasily Anufriev in the 56 Lambo fighting off Igor Ogorodnikov and Jarno Kausch and Gregor Schill as well. So real battles going on side by side though across the line. There's a little bit of door banging between Sean Arnold and that is going to be Jack Noller. It's the run down to turn 1. Amazing stuff. And race preservation is going to come into it because Jack Noller's going to have the inside line. Sean Arnold round the outside. What? That was wild. He's going to have the inside line. Another little bit of contact there. And Sean Arnold, that is some amount of fortitude that he's got there. He's going to have the cutback there. And it's the run down to the right-hander. So again, Sean Arnold's going to have to cut out. And this means that Zahir Essa can get up to this little battle for third place. Wow. The Lamborghini is so fast right now. In fact, I thought he was going to make a move on the Ferrari there.
He tried. Just didn't quite get inside. The Porsche and the Lamborghini, two cars that historically do well around here, but the Lamborghini has that straight line speed that allows it to be a bit more raceable. So I think the sort of wet conditions in qualifying is really not necessarily screwed over, but made it a much more difficult prospect for that 111 car. And the 777 now is proving the sort of raceability of that Lamborghini at this track is scything through the field right now. And really, they look like the car to beat. They're definitely the fastest car on track right now. The only thing that's stopping them is a bit of traffic.
Interestingly, Thiago Lima in the Aston Martin did the fastest first sector of anyone, and he's way down in 15th place. So that was crazy. Zahir's dive though has almost sent him to the moon. He's managed to regain control of it and get back up there, but loses out to Sean Arnold. Florian Becker ahead now of John Munro as well. This is back to the battle for 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th. Thank you very much for that. Very keen to see that. You can see Gregor Schill in 13th just trying his best to catch on to this, but he is getting dropped by these guys here. Around the outside then, Sean Arnold again. It's the run up to turn 1. Oh wow, what a move from Sean Arnold. Tries to cut it back on the inside. Let's see if he's got that done. They're still side by side, and this is incredible racing right now. This just cannot get past, Luke.
The thing is, you're saying he gets that cut back onto the inside, but actually you kind of want to be on the outside for the sweep, just so you can get that inside line on the, coming through the barbecue corner, that left-hander that's turn 3. If you're stuck on the outside, as we see a bit of contact there between the 777, and look who slips through. The 111 car finally gets the overtake done. He gets a double overtake on one of the most difficult places of the track, and again a bit of contact for the 777 car. But all of a sudden the 111 moves to 4th place, moves into contention, I think, for a podium place, as he should be charging through and should be able to fight on the 14. And that was a bit of contact there, a bit of drama that's really helped out that Porsche.
Oh my goodness me, the 777 is just trying to throw it every which way it possibly can. I wonder if race controller are going to be looking at that for the driving standards. They're very, very aggressive. That is Sean Arnold trying to take it round the outside of John Munro in the Bentley, and that Bentley more than capable of seeing off the Ferrari there. So that is split that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th wide open. And great to see Florian Becker getting himself up into that 4th place there, just ahead of Jack Noller. Jack Noller also being able to breathe a sigh of relief in that Bentley. So quite a few cars getting sent packing down the order here. I tell you what, this is also bringing that battle for 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th very quickly up to this battle, because I'll tell you right now, they were doing 142 5s, and the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th were doing all 143. So very slowly P3 to P13 is going to be separated probably by about P3 to P13 separated by 7 seconds.
And that's where those penalties, yes, they're right at the back of this train that we're talking about, but those penalties for Ogorodnikov and Kaush move them so far back. If you have a 15-second penalty now for the 777 car for that contact we just saw, if the stewards decide to come down hard on it, that moves them back to outside the top 15. It's so crucial to stay clean. And this track really, it sort of encourages you to get aggressive. It encourages you to race like we saw from the 777 car. But when you do that and you get involved in those incidents, not only do you damage your own car and damage your own pace, but you also put yourself at risk of penalties, put yourself at risk of losing time to incidents, and that's exactly what we've seen for this car now.
So here, Essa trying to come around the outside of the Crocodiles, has to back out of it. That car is he's wild in it. He is just pushing so hard as they go down through Cheetah and then into the final corner at Ingwe. I kind of like it from a spectator point of view, but from the driving standards, you're kind of holding your breath because something bad's going to happen if Zahir Essa continues to drive like this. He's going to misjudge a braking point in the corner and something bad is going to happen to somebody else. He tries to fire it up the inside into turn one, side by side in, and I think there was a little bit of contact there as we see Florian Becker having to move to the outside of the corner, and this brings back in Sean Arnold. Meanwhile, John Munro, who was in that top 5 battle, is he's really felt the bad end of this. He's got a raw end of the deal on this because he's all the way down in 8th place there, and I think there's going to be some unhappiness at the way that the cars have been treated on that. I was a bit worried. No, I can't speak. A bit worried that the server died there, but no, I think it was just the spectator losing the connection briefly there. So luckily, cars haven't started flying. We've not entered some futuristic dystopia. It wasn't the server. I'm not being funny, right? I know obviously we do our best to present the best possible look that we can for this series, but I'm sorry, but that was cool. Seeing a Porsche 20 feet off the ground, let's get more of that in racing. Right, Sean Arnold for the TFZ Ferrari. He's putting Zahir Essa under all sorts of pressure right now, and Essa is returning that pressure right back to Florian Becker. Is it going to be a dive up the inside? See, this is what I don't understand, right? We'll say that Zahir Essa is driving very, very aggressively. However, he's got moments where you could throw it ultra aggressive, like on the entrance to that final corner there, and he thinks it better of it, but yet he'll happily throw it into turn one and try and do it again. He does it again, and there's almost certainly more contact as he goes around the outside, and this is compromising his own line. And Sean Arnold, I think
he's got it here though. Yeah, he's got it here at the inside for barbecue. This is where it works, but he spun out on his own. He spun out on his own. It once again goes to that move, and it's not paid off again. He gets the preferred line and just hits too much curb, and that is just handed the place now to Florian Becker. But actually, Sean Arnold's coming at it. He's coming back for the position that he held earlier on, and I think the 111 thought they might have finally had a bit of breathing room, but that is not the case. This Ferrari's all over them right now, looking left, looking right, looking for any gap they can find to get past this Porsche, but there's nothing doing so far.
Guess who he has got recovered in front of? Your championship leader Gregor Schill right now, so we'll see how that goes. But Sean Arnold up the inside. Oh, that was a poor move from the Ferrari. That was never going to work. Oh, you hate to see it. And Sean Arnold, I don't understand that. We've obviously tried and take a very neutral point as commentators, but come on, that was just so silly, Luke.
Yeah, that was a case of I think the food looking good. You know what I mean? Finally they had that opportunity to send it up the inside, and it just didn't work out. They saw a nice meal and their eyes got a bit big, and they didn't quite think, actually, you know what, I'm not that hungry, and they went for it, and it just did not work out. And the 111 car just cannot seem to catch a break in terms of people dive bombing them. But you know who's gained from all that? Quietly, the 96 car has snuck up into 5th place, only a second behind the 111. I mean, yes, it's a big gap to the leader right now, But with a couple more incidents at the front, which I think we're kind of seeing, those kind of things can happen, and maybe the 96 could be a shock contender for the win.
Yeah, this is building up very, very nicely. So we'll need to keep an eye on the championship standings. I think it's still safely too early to see any difference whatsoever, because Gregor Schill still in that 12th place right now. It'll only be a small handful of points as we see. Oh my goodness me, that's Jarno Cash getting manhandled, I think is the politest possible word that I can use for Zahir Essa. And look at that, Gregor Schill having a little look, and Gregor Schill has... There's no pace in that car, but what worries me is the aggressiveness of Zahir Essa. If those two come into contact, right, then Gregor Schill, oh my goodness me, is going to be the losing party on that. They're still door banging side by side, and Zahir Essa brutally makes that move stick. And I'll be honest, I think that race control are going to start looking, oh, we've got more penalties. Igor Ogorodnikov then, is that being upgraded to a 20
It's an additional penalty.
That's a new penalty then for him.
Another 5 seconds. But they bumped the 71 Bentley, I want to say. Bentley with a question mark. And then spun themselves and actually end up behind. As
71, that's the BMW.
The BMW. They, I think they had some contact. There was Igor's fault, hence the penalty. And then Igor spun himself out, which is why he didn't actually gain anything from it. But it's still a bit of avoidable contact. It's still the second time this race that he's done something deserving of a penalty, and that's why he's got 20 seconds at the end of the day. Calling out specifically the people in chat, you can get annoyed all you want at people getting penalties, but when they deserve it, every race, they're going to get the penalties.
You're a brave man, Luke, picking on YouTube chat. You're first you call it a game, now you're after anyone in YouTube chat.
The thing that happens is when you're across multiple races, you're consistently getting those reports in. Sometimes you're going to get the harsh ones because you develop a reputation. I think right now, we're seeing Zahir develop a reputation as a very aggressive driver and a guy that perhaps is a bit over-optimistic on overtakes, which is probably not going to go down well with the stewards when they have time to look through all the various incidents he's been involved in the last 20 minutes. But when you have that reputation over a single race, it doesn't come back to bite you in whatever series you raced in next in SimGrid. If you get involved in the new, it's called the World Tour that we're running, World Cup. It's a cup, not a tour. There we go. $20,000 prize fund. Looks pretty tasty. If I don't mind. If I could race, I'd be racing in it, but not. Hopefully, I will be on the mic for the series and the World Cup. But if you develop a reputation for one race, it's not going to come back to bite you in the World Cup. But if you, like Igor, consistently getting reported across multiple races, the stewards are going to come down hard on you when it happens.
No, I was just trying to see what car that was going very, very wide. That was the 96 for Kreuzer, who went very wide at the second last corner there. Managed to get going again just behind Stefan Zero, but now he's into this absolute melee. He's been done by the 56 as well. Vasily and Nufriev up into 7th place as well now, and he's under pressure from Igor Ogorodnikov just behind him. 5th to 8th in the space of 3 corners. And if Lucas Kreuzer doesn't get a move on, he is going to get absolutely swallowed up by this group of 5 cars here.
He's got the, as Michael points out in his ears, he's got the straight line fiend that is the 71 BMW coming up in his front windscreen right now. The next thing to be defeated, which might take a while to defeat that 6th place car, as it is pretty much impossible to get past. Has been shown so far in this race. And talking of cars that are pretty much impossible to overtake, the 889 is looking really good at the front now. We had that time where Valentin was right on their rear bumper. They're right in a position really to overtake and go for the lead, and James was able to hold on, able to sort of steady the ship. And now maybe a bit of tyre wear coming in. It's not something you'd usually expect for a Bentley, but at least the consistency of the 889 has been better over the stint, which has enabled him to pull a couple seconds gap. And when you have another fast driver that's about to get into the car, it's Joe McCauley, the second driver, isn't it? Before I say it wrong, it's going to be. It's not. Sorry, it's not Joe McCauley today. It's Vicky Thompson will be the other driver. So perhaps an unknown quantity there. I mean, we know it's pretty great in the car, but Are they going to be able to hold on to this? I'm not sure, but that little buffer now, it gives the second driver time to get into that car and I think get used to the conditions. You have a couple laps, you can waste half a second getting used to track conditions, getting up to speed. If you come out right in front by a couple tenths, you get forced into these battles early and you can't settle into that rhythm, but being able to pull that gap for the 89 will really help in the long term.
Oh my goodness me, it is just breathtaking action that we've got going on right now. 1 minute 25 seconds away from the pit window opening for 10 minutes, and these places are changing so fast. All credit to Stefan Zero in that BMW. He is the lead of a 7-car train right now, although they're all starting to fight in amongst themselves. Gregor Schill loses another place down to 13th place as we see Veddy going up into there. Maximilian Veddy takes 12th place from Gregor Schill, and with pit stops starting to come up, we're going to see strategy going to be the main thing. 50 seconds to see that. Jarno Couch get ahead of Lucas Kreuzer, and Lucas Kreuzer now just 2 tenths away from your championship leader. Once Gregor Schill gets past him, that's it, it's done, it's dusted, and it will almost certainly be in the bag, barring anything happening to the treble 8. But Anufriev gets past the BMW then, so that train has been beaten, has been broken, but we'll see how long that lasts for, because we know the straight line speed that thing has got. But 20 seconds left to go for our pit stop window opening. Luke, who do we think is going to blink first?
I think if you're one of these drivers in the train, you're stuck behind a couple cars. I'm looking at maybe Zahir, maybe someone like Gregor Schill. You want to come in early and try and get that undercut working. If you're a driver like James Parker or Valentin Barrier, I think you want to stay out a little bit longer and extend your stint, because you're both pretty fast. You're pulling that gap to third, so you're in a pretty great place. But if you're one of those drivers that's within half a second to the car in front, and there's another car not that far up the grid, there's no harm in coming in now. At worst, it's going to be status quo. At best, that bit of track position you might gain from the clear air might gain you a couple positions. So I'm looking for the 888, the 999. I think are really good contenders. Potentially the 777 if they don't get hit by a penalty. All those cars are looking pretty good, I think, for an undercut.
Yeah, we'll certainly see how it pans out over the next 9 minutes and 20 seconds, but still watching this battle here for 11th, 12th and 13th place. Lucas Kreuzer ahead of Maximilian Veddy and Gregor Schill. Just behind them is Thiago Lima, Nick Babin and Jan Kaminski. That little 3-car battle for 14, 15, 16. Zahir Essa again on the fight. Yegorov on the Kother side by side down in towards that's the Crocodiles. And in contact between Zahir Essa and the most unlikely, unpredictable thing that you're ever going to see tonight. Zahir Essa again in contact, again with the aggressiveness.
I was so tempted to say that like a lap ago that something was going to happen there when you put a driver that's I think perhaps well known for getting involved in incidents in Igor, and a driver that's developing a reputation through this race in Zahir, put them next to each other on track and try and tell one to try and overtake the other. And I think there's only one result from that. Zahir, I think perhaps showing that he needs a lesson in overtaking. Maybe Igor, I think through this race and through this championship, is showing he needs to learn a bit more racecraft as well. But both of them are such fast drivers and just ruining their own race constantly. It's annoying to see, because I want them to do well. I want them to sort of use their pace, and compete in the championship, and they just throw it away by getting involved in incidents.
Yeah, and it loses them so much time into pit lane just now. So we've got several cars. We've got Tinko van der Velde jumping into the 96, Jan Kaminski into the 999. That is Raymond Mooney in the 777, just getting told in my ear. Stockwell 30 for speeding in pit lane. Thibaut Prost in the McLaren 132 jumps in as well. Darren King in the 38 machine out there as well. But yeah, that is... It's so difficult to watch that, because the Lamborghini has just been so aggressive all through the race there in the Coach Z Racing Academy. So yeah, I don't know how that one's going to get panned out from
10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago they were battling for third place. Yeah. Now I expect they're probably just going to leave the race because they're going to be last, and it's entirely their fault. They can't look at it and I mean the stop go is a bit harsh. They got because of the incident they got thrown into the pit lane, but they wouldn't have been involved in that incident if they weren't driving as aggressively and pushing themselves back to where they were, and then getting overly aggressive to try and make up. They were chasing the losses by getting even more aggressive when really they just needed to settle into position. And now they've put themselves in a position where they've gone from arguably being the fastest car on the grid to probably not finishing the race.
Yeah, it's you hate to see it just because there's a lot of speed in that car, but it feels like it's been wasted potential because of all of the incidents, and it just makes it unfair for the other drivers as well, Luke, because it's all very well being fast, but if you're essentially using other drivers as a banister to get round the track, then questions are eventually going to start being asked of their driving skill.
Yeah, to give a very niche English footballing reference, he's just done a Saido Berahino, and there was going to be one person, it might have been David, there's going to be one person that knows what I mean by that, whereas he's wasted talent. I think that's the best way to describe it. He's wasted his pace. This is a track that suits the Lamborghini down to the ground. It should have been the race where they competed for the win, and purely down to their own driving, they put themselves out of it. And I mean, you can't necessarily say the same with Igor. He didn't qualify in a position. He's not in the car being sort of expected to be really good around here. Didn't qualify incredibly well, but he's a driver we know is pretty fast. And again, he's getting penalties. I think he's had one in every race this season, if I remember correctly, or at least in 4 of the 5. And I don't think there can be any complaints from him, about those penalties. I mean, he'll complain when he gets them, but you look back a couple hours later and you go, well, actually, yeah, probably deserved that one, and yeah, probably deserved that one as well, and maybe that one also. But when you're in that position where every time you're a driver that should be in the top 10, that should be competing for podiums, and really should be competing for a championship, and then you look at your results and it's 20th place, 15th place, didn't finish the race, you have to start looking closer to home about why it's happening.
Just looking at Alaric Enslin in the Coach Dave Academy car, he has done the undercut. He has jumped Tinko van der Velde in the 96 car, so is in 13th position on the track. However, as the cars start to make the pit stops, I think that's going to move Alaric Enslin up to the top 10 with the pace that he's done on that undercut there. So great move. That puts him just behind Martin Schumacher in the 721 BMW. It's still in the race lead. It's going to be... let's have a look here. It's still James Parker, but Valentin Barrier into the pit, so I think he's the first one of the leaders to blink and head into pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do on some fresh rubber just now. 43. Oh, sorry, Luke, on you go.
You continue.
43 minutes left to go in the race. 3.5 minutes left to go in the pit window, and the Lamborghini has binned it. The 777 of Raymond Mooney. The day goes from bad to worse. All of that aggressiveness, and what's that chat? What's that? I can hear so many words of karma getting written here, but that's not the best, is it?
It's a bit of a nightmare race. I hope for them that it's a one-off. They're 7th place in the championship. They've just come off a podium in their last race. They've been driving well all season. Had 11th, 9th, 11th, 3rd. That's been their results this season, and it kind of feels like it's a bit of a bogey race. There was a very clear disparity in their qualifying position and their actual race pace. I think they were the fastest car on track, and they qualified. I think were they outside the top 10 or right on the edge? I think of the top 10. I can't remember the exact position, but they were charging through the field. They qualified 9th. Thank you, Michael, in my ear. But when you're at a track like this, where it is very difficult to overtake, and you've got 90 minutes to do it, you're not in the championship fight, so it's not the end of the... Oh, he actually got binned, got put in a wall by someone, so I think we're going to see a penalty that's not going the way of the 777 there. He got properly turned, almost NASCAR style there, put into the wall. And that's pretty much a race ender. I think have they come in? Yeah, they're in the pits now. So whether that's DNF or getting repairs done, at least finish the race. But I'm hoping for them it's a one-off, owing for that. Well, they are actually carrying on, but a one-off owing for the fact that there's such a, so difficult to overtake here. There was such a disparity in pace, and they perhaps didn't quite know how to deal with that. To use their own pace to overtake without getting over aggressive. And when that kind of thing happens, if you're one of those teams that doesn't normally get involved in those kind of incidents and it just sort of has one race, you have to learn from it. I think you have to use these kind of races as an experience to say, well, what did I do wrong? How can I change the way I drive so that next time I come to this track in this car and that kind of thing happens again, where maybe there's wet qualifying, we don't quite qualify where we probably should have, and coming through the field, how can I do it safely?
Sorry to jump in, Luke. The leader, Jarno oh, never mind, sorry. I just realised Jarno hasn't actually pitted yet, and it has a 15-second penalty from earlier. We'll just ignore the fact that I got excited there completely. I saw him at the top of the screen there. Didn't realise Jarno hadn't already been in. Never mind. Right. All that excitement aside, we've got 45 seconds left in the pit window.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Vicky Thompson in the 889's just had a small moment somewhere. I'm trying to work out exactly where, but she's just lost the lead to the 39 car. And she was a couple seconds up the road, and she's now a couple cars behind the car. So I think it's happened in the pit lane. There we go. 5 seconds lost in the pit lane. So I wonder whether maybe maybe James overshot the pit entry a little bit there and lost some time. But that's really unfortunate for Vicky. I mean, we know the 889 we know it's a Lexus, which means it's a very raceable car, right? It's easier to overtake in that car versus being in a Bentley, but it's harder to get that optimal, that race pace, getting up to the same speed. So with that track position now, you have to say that the 39 car is in a really good position, I think, for the overall win. But I said that the 111 car, was a bit of a secret contender. But that 14-second gap now between them and the third place car, owing to the fact that there was that big battle for so long for those positions, has really, I think, sort of pulled them out of it. And they have to have some sort of battle between the 889 and the 39 to even have a chance.
Well, 3 seconds between them. I can't see that one happening, but we'll see how that pans out. Rob Taplin, though, desperately trying to hold on against that BMW of Martin Schumacher, and it's not happened. Martin Schumacher in the 721 takes that 7th position from Rob Taplin, sends him backwards. Jarno Kish finally comes into the pits, and that is too late, I think, just watching them go down, unless they actually did get in. So he did get into the pit lane in time, and that's all that matters. So everyone has now done their mandatory pit stop now. Jan-Willem van Ommen is in the race lead, then doing the undercut into pit lane just 2 laps ago, get ahead of Vicky Thompson in the 889 Lexus, the Coach David Academy, just 2.9 seconds behind. That was 3 seconds, so coming down very marginally, but we'll have to see how that develops over the next 40 minutes as well. Richard Lindhorst in the Treble 1 Porsche, kind of in no man's land really, 13.5 seconds behind that battle for first and second place. And then Kirill Antonov in the Lambo doing a very, very good job there. But Sheldon Muscat taking on the Bentley in the number 14 Bentley. That's a great result for them so far, 5th place right now, and they'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think they perhaps hope that they can do a bit better with the 40 minutes they have left, but they can still, I think, improve. But you're already going to be pretty happy with where you are, although they do have a certain someone hunting them down for that position. But I look back through the field now, and the one driver that's really benefited from those moments and those incidents that we saw, that it gave pulled the 777 out of contention, gave a couple of cars penalties. Suddenly the 888 car up in 8th place is in a really dominant position for the title hopes. The 889 is no longer in the lead. The 96 is behind them, so they pretty much just need to finish the race at this point. That's their goal now. Don't DNF.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's just a case of keep the car clean, get it home, and it's job done.
And that's exactly what they did at Barcelona. It wasn't a race where they had the out-and-out pace that we've seen from the other 3 races that they had. But what they did do is they stayed out of trouble. They had a respectable enough qualifying. Put themselves in an okay position. And when those cars in front of them had those moments, got those penalties, got the damage and the spins from those incidents, from that sort of poor driving. They were just able to pick positions off here or there, and despite the fact that they didn't quite have the pace, they were able to get points. And it's put them in such a commanding position in the championship. And once again, they're doing it here. I think a masterclass in championship craft is what we're seeing right now from the 888 car, putting themselves in a really strong position for that overall championship. And as things stand right now, it'd be a CDA 1-2.
And that's a very difficult thing as well, because it's all very well having race pace, Luke, but obviously the drivers that we see consistently at the top of the tables on this are the ones that have that eye on the championship. They know that they need the points more than they actually need the position or the finish. And for some reason, it's, or for some occasions, it's better to get a lower position and finish in one piece than try and go for a position that they can't actually hold on to and risk losing the race.
I mean, we mentioned briefly at the start that the teams between 2nd and 5th in the championship haven't won a race yet. And it's the Fordzilla cars that in 6th and 8th place that have won races. The 8 car, which isn't racing for tonight, won at Barcelona. The 38 car won at Brands Hatch. But neither of those cars have been able to consistently replicate their pace. They've been involved in incidents. Of course, the 8 car's not turned up tonight, so they're already out of the championship contention, but they're going to fall even further down by virtue of the fact they're not going to score anything from here. But when you can't have that consistency because you make mistakes or you're involved in incidents, you're not going to do well in the championship.
Yeah, for sure. 35 minutes left to go in the final race of Season 2 of the Sprint Cup here live on the Sim Grid. A huge thank you to our commercial partners, Coach Dave Academy, providing expert developed sim racing setups that are specially tailored here for a Assetto Corsa Competition to give you the ultimate inside edge on races exactly like this. Cheating isn't allowed, but you can head over to Coach Dave Academy, and it's pretty much the same thing, because the hours that those esports drivers put into developing these setups, it's just night and day the difference they can make to your performance. So head over to Coach Dave Academy, get yourself a setup, and also while you're at it, head over to Thrustmaster as well and pick up one of their fantastic range of wheels, whether you're looking for an entry-level wheel like the T150 that I've got behind me, or one of their fantastic Pro Sim Racer range that they've got as well, all the way to the top. Get yourself one, and we will see you on the grid as well. If you like what you see on the stream, as always, hit the subscription button on YouTube. Hit that little like button as well, because we're all driven by ego here, and we like seeing that little thumbs up going up and up and up. And as well, we want to see you on the grid. More importantly, me and Luke and all the rest of the country team, we want to be talking about you on track. So head over to the simgrid.com, get yourself involved in the community, get yourself signed up for our championships and to Season 2 of the World Cup. $20,000 of a cash pool for the second season. Amazing prize fund going on there. 5 rounds over 2 splits. You are not going to want to miss that out. So get yourself involved in Season 2 of the World Cup. There we go. That is all the bills paid. So let's get back to the race then. Half an hour left to go in the race, and it is still Jan-Willem van Ommen in the lead from Vicky Thompson. Vicky, I think, is going to be reasonably happy just putting in the laps there and keeping in that second place. Kirill Antonov here for the like and subscribe number 56 team in third place, taking that final podium position. But Richard Lindhorst, teammates with Florian Becker in that 111 Porsche, Luke, they've had a lot of pace through this race.
Mm-hmm. And one thing this race I think has been characterised by is those teams that haven't been able to qualify well coming through the field. We've got the 56 car, the 111, the 888, even the 289's made a bit of progress here. It's all those cars that are good in the dry around here and struggled a little bit with wet conditions are starting to fight back through the field. And whilst the 56 and the 111 aren't quite able to keep up with that top two, owing to the amount of the amount of gap that they had from that first stint, they're still giving themselves, I think, a really good run in and proving their fast teams. That the 111's down 11th place in the championship If we go to the 56, I'm trying to even find them. They were down in 17th place, the like and subscribe car. Both of those teams sort of finally showing what they're capable of on a track which, albeit the track suits them, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to use at times when the BOP is in your favour. If the BOP is in your favour and you're finishing 15th, and you're not capitalising on those moments, you're not going to do well in the championship.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it all comes down to. The 4 races that we've previously had in this Sprint Cup Championship all lead up to this final huzzah, as we see McDade getting absolutely done round the final corner there by Mosaic, and they're side by side on the run down to turn number 1. I think the BMW might just have the run on that Porsche, but the Porsche is going to surely be later on the brakes. Yep, takes that position, and easy does it. Lamborghini of the Spray though, trying everything he can to get past Felix, again side by side with the Porsche and the BMW there, and I think that Porsche is finally going to make that move stick there for 20th position, back to the Spree in the 289 Lamborghini. He's desperately trying to get past the 675 of Felix, and finally gets that done. Andre Felix, Boris Dupre, I mean, he's looking so fast in that Lamborghini.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking fast, but again, qualifying, it just didn't quite work out for them. I think it was probably a lack of confidence in the conditions. The wet conditions certainly harmed those drivers, but there's harm in moving you from top 5 to a top 10 qualifying. There's harm that puts you outside the top 20 in qualifying, which is much more severe at a track like this. And yes, the Lamborghinis are looking really fast, but really hampered by their I would say probably lack of practice and lack of setup work. I think in the wet is usually what sort of leads to that sort of disparity. I expect especially the 889, we saw them do really well in qualifying, get pole position. The CDA guys, we know how much setup work they put in because it's pretty much their job. So we sort of expect when those wet conditions come in with the wet setups that Coach Dave have now, they should be pretty good in those conditions, and that's exactly what happened for the 889. Yes, they're in a Lexus, which is good in the wet, but you have to be able to capitalise that with setup work, and especially in a championship of this calibre. You can't just pick a car that's fast in the wet and qualify first. It's just not how it works.
So that's where I've been going wrong then. I'm keeping an eye as well, Luke, on the battle for third place. Kirill Antonov and Richard Lindhorst are locking horns, just 2/10 to separate those two just now, although Lindhorst dropping half a second on that last lap rounds. But the 889 of Vicky Thompson kind of dropping back a little bit on your race leader, lost about 4/10 of a second there. But it is important to note as well, they have just gone past the 181 car to put them a lap down as well. So again, traffic not really been anything to write home about today. It's not really been a massive issue, and Tim Triquet did get out of the way quite quickly. Krzysztof Makowski just ahead. I think that is a Yannick Hamer or for the Keck Esports team, the 999. You can always tell by that really, really iconic purple and lime, fluorescent yellow colouring that they've got on that car. But Yannick Hamer manages to tell that tale another day, dips to the inside there, and real battle of the Porsches there. And if they're not careful, Robin Pegadel in that 911 Porsche, he's going to come up to play and join the party as well.
It's not quite the plum that we saw in the World Cup in that Aston Martin, but it's a pretty nice looking Porsche with that purple and green. I'm not usually a fan of bright colours on cars, but it works so well. So I have to give props for that livery, but it's getting a bit scraped up this race. There's a bit of bumping and banging, especially for these Porsche cars. And I think that's a case of just how the car is. Right? It's very difficult to overtake in a Porsche because it's not got great straight line speed. So you need to be quite aggressive on your overtakes, and that's why we're seeing pretty much every Porsche in the field getting a bit of bumped around, some scrapes on it, and ruining some of those liveries. But they still look pretty good here as we see what is eventually going to be a three-way Porsche battle. And there's another bump and bang, this time Porsche on Porsche, as the 999 car gets moved out the way by the 225 and the Hansen Maskowski. And suddenly, it brings the 911 in for their 12th place. This is only for 12th place, and they're racing like it's for the win.
Yeah, they certainly are, and you can kind of understand that. There's obviously lots to play for in the championship outside of the top four, but Robin Pagano getting brought in from the cold there, as we saw Makowski and Hamer going toe to toe. And to be honest, I think Hamer just ran out of room himself, and Makowski decided that he wasn't going to let him have that room to recover from that. And he can't keep his foot in on the outside of track limits there. So Robin Pagano desperately trying to catch up to the back of Makowski. I think now Makowski has been unleashed from Yannick Hamer. I think he's going to be able to stretch his legs potentially a little bit here. But we've got just over 26 minutes left to go in this final round of Season 2 of the Sprint Cup here from Kyalami. David Christie and Luke Rogers bringing you all of the coverage, and we'll be bringing you the final 25 minutes as well. It's still Jan Willem van Ommen in the lead over Vicky Thompson there, and I've got to say the pace that Jan Willem van Ommen is quite frightening right now. 141.2, and yeah, a fantastic result so far for the Jardier Community Car, replacing Jaroslav Honzig, aka Jardier, in that car. So yeah, it's a great time. However, replacing the team boss and outstripping him in terms of time, it's a bold strategy.
Yeah, it's perhaps not something we would quite expect, as Jardier is usually the faster driver of the team. So obviously the two that are obviously showing the car today, with Barrier and Van Ommen, have both really, I think, perhaps put in a bit of work. I'm not sure why Jardier can't do this race, but obviously 889 has also had the same thing. They've not got Joe McCauley. Today it's Vicky Thompson in that seat instead. Oh, is Mike gone again? Yeah, it's one of the spectators went again. Oh, service still fine.
Yeah.
So we're having a couple moments with the spectators today, but luckily the race is going ahead as planned. I don't think there's any server issues for the drivers, so it's just on our end, which is always nice to see.
The excuse I'm going to go is it's Raymond Mooney in the 777 Lamborghini. Despite that car trying to hit everything on track, he's now decided to try and beat up the server as well, and it's not worked. It's fine. 25 minutes left to go in the race. This is Kirill Antonov. We've kept our eye in the background on this one, the 56 like and subscribe racing team, fending from that beautiful 111 Porsche of Richard Lindhorst and Florian Becker. Florian did I've got to say, did a fantastic job. He just kept himself quiet when we had that third to eighth place battle where everybody was just knocking lumps out of each other. Florian Becker was kind of just keeping himself steady and keeping himself to himself on that one. Another good second half drive for Rob Taplin in 214 Bentley, the NSN car. Again, John Munro has had a horrible first start to the race. We know he's got so much pace on him, but I mean, he was getting beaten about quite badly in that fifth place in the championship car, the number 214. And good to see that they're going to get a top 10 finish, and potentially even more, because they're just behind the freight train that is the BMW M6 of Martin Schumacher. So we'll see if Rob Taplin can get in front of Martin.
23 minutes to go now, and there's a couple battles here in that top 10 that are coming to fruition a bit. We have this battle for third place that we see on screen, but if you look at the standings, Schumacher in the 71 BMW is actually looking forward. We sort of meme that car and say, you qualify in it and then you just sort of hold on to what you have. But it's actually been going forward this race, and it looks like he's going to be able to do that again if he can catch up properly to Muscat. The 214 is not far behind, and we also have that battle for 9th place between Spray and Van der Velde. So there's a couple of battles here that I think over the last sort of 22 minutes would be quite fun to watch. And Muscat's had a little wobble, according to our eyes and ears that are currently in our ears of Michael, who's giving us a little bit of feedback through the field. And it looks like, here we go. Here's the race now. The 721 hunting down the Bentley, the two biggest cars in the field, fighting for 5th place here. And I think this will be the best finish of the season for both cars, if I remember correctly. I'll have a quick peek at that just to make sure I'm right before I double down on it.
I normally don't bother doing that. I just throw it out there and I'm 9 times out of 10 completely wrong.
I mean, irrespective of who overtakes who, it will be their best finish of the season. As the 14 car was finished 14th best, or in their best race, which was the last race. And the 721 BMW has finished 12th twice. So both of them having a really good final race, and perhaps I don't want to say it's the track that's suiting it, because we've seen Bentleys do really well all season, especially the 39 car. I think is one definitely to bring up. So that's not been why the 14s perhaps not had a championship that we sort of expect from the drivers of Sheldon's caliber. But finally having this 5th place, I think showing sort of what he's capable of is nice to see. And I think with this season, we're going into the sort of the marquee events, I think is the best way to put it for the Sim Grid, especially with the World Cup coming up. Building confidence in these kind of races can be really important. I believe this is a track, I assume this is a track we will have in the championship, because it is such a great endurance track. So I think if you can get that experience of, yes, it's a sprint race, but in a 90-minute race, having that top 5, you're going to be confident when you finally come into that endurance race of the track. And having, especially at the end of the season, that's when you have these kind of races. It puts you in that mentally in a really good position coming into the bigger events, and obviously the events with the prize pool. So right now, I think there's teams towards the front. You're 889, 888, the 96, the 39 car. I think especially, they're going to be really confident coming into the World Cup season.
For sure. And the other thing that we've spoken about quite at length, Luke, is the fact that with the drivers that get to drive with each other, week in, week out, they learn so much about the other person's driving style, about their weaknesses, about their strengths, about how they are with the car, about their control, about whether or not they can throw it up side by side without getting absolutely rocketed off to the moon. So even if they're not getting a strong finishing position, it's still invaluable data for, like you say, seasons that are just about to start.
Yeah, and it's not just about confidence as well, because you also get setup experience. So you're coming into this race and you've done a bit of setup work. Yes, there's slightly different goals, given this is a sprint race. The World Cup's obviously an endurance series, so the races are a lot longer. But you still gain that experience in what kind of moves makes this car good around this track, and you come in with that sort of baseline that you can then adapt to a more endurance setup. Maybe you'll compromise a bit more for weather change and temperature change, or you'll perhaps bring down the camber on the tyres and the toe to preserve the tyre life a bit, because obviously in the World Cup we usually have limited tyre sets, which means tyre life is important. But you still have that setup in terms of suspension, in terms of aero balance that works, and you can believe in that car. And there's only so much practice you can do before a race that gives you confidence. But when you actually race that setup and you do well with it, that's when it's a good one. So all these teams are going to be, really, I think, looking forward now to the World Cup starting.
As we've got 18 and a half minutes left to go, the battle for 5th place is rapidly becoming a 4-car battle for that position. Sheldon Muscat ahead of Martin Schumacher and Rob Taplin, but just off in the background, that 888 car of Alara Kenslan, your championship leader, and as things stand, well and truly clear in the championship, and it is going to be a championship win for Alara Kenslan in the 888 car tonight if things keep the way they are going. 80 minutes stand between them and the Season 2 trophy. But this is a really interesting little battle bubbling up here, because Sheldon Muscat is not a slow driver, but somehow Martin Schumacher is eking pace out of that BMW M6. Now, I mistakenly, I'll put my hands up here, I thought that BMW was going to go backwards through the field here, and it is more than saying it's held its own is a massive understatement. It's a massively unfair comment to make on the BMW, because the pairing in the 721 team have just been absolutely on it right now. They have really, really done well in that GC Racing number 1 outfit of Zero Stefan and Martin Schumacher. Luke, it's it's looking like it's going to be a little bit of a ding-dong battle in these final 15 minutes, though.
Yeah, and what you're saying with the BMW, I always feel bad for the Welcome Horse team and obviously G2 Esports, because they're both, obviously Welcome Horse is a BMW team in real life, and G2 are obviously affiliated with BMW. Their esports team are affiliated, and so when they come into ACC, they race the BMW to sort of represent the brands they're working with, and just with the BOP, it's I think pretty obviously unfair for that car. It's not this slow, or it's not as slow as we usually see. It's a pretty fast car in real life. They drive it anyway, and the fact that Schumacher is able to, and obviously his teammate are able to do so consistently well in this car and just outperform what is ultimately unfairly a bit of a pig in terms of the way it drives in the sim. It's not an easy car to drive, especially on a high downforce track. Getting that car to 6th place at a track like Kyalami is a pretty impressive feat.
It certainly is, and we've seen plenty of that. It's not like it's a one-off. We've seen plenty of just stellar drives, like outstanding drives through this championship. It's one of the reasons that I love so much being part of the team here at the Sim Grids. We see a Display side by side. That's Tinko van der Velde, second place in the championship. They are, oh my goodness me, on the run down to the Crocodiles, and this is wild stuff right now. That Mercedes just holding on, but the Lamborghinis have seen so fast around the corners here, and you really do have to feel that it's just going to be a few laps for Boris Display. Back with the... Oh, there's contact! Oh, the Lamborghini's taking too many hints from the 777. Was that too soon? And look at that! Felix has just done them both on the inside, the 676. The Aston Martin has been like, right, okay, well, you guys do what you like. I'm just waiting to go and finish the race. So, Felix into 9th place there.
It's about as easy a double overtaking as you'll ever see with the 675 car. As he slides into 9th place, and we saw the Lamborghini gave the position back there after the over-optimistic move. A nice gentlemanly gesture, and those kind of things are how you avoid penalties. If you have those small mistakes, I mean, they might still get a 5-second for damage caused and stuff like that, but I expect maybe it won't even be reported, because obviously the way it works in this is that you only get penalised if you're reported. Sometimes just that gentlemanly gesture of acknowledging you messed up, letting them have the position back, conceding it, can be enough to stop people from reporting you. And I think if you're watching people in cars that have got penalties, learn from it.
That was a savage lesson from Luke Rogers, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on, I'm just about to go and step onto this soapbox as well here. 14 minutes left to go in the race. It's absolutely the point. We see it in chat, we'll come back to it in a second. Robin Pagano, and it's the Porsche battle. Mikowski on the inside, Robin Pagano around the outside. He's going to have the move done, surely. Oh, but just gets too little attraction around the corner. Mikowski managed to live and tell another day. Yannick Hamer is also licking his lips, fancying getting a shot of this little battle here. But it's all about Robin Pagano, who was, let's remember, at the start of this little Porsche fight, he was about 2 seconds behind and got brought right into it by Mikowski and Hamer. Hamer was actually in the lead of this group, if you can believe it, around about 15 laps ago. So it's as you were as they head into the next lap with 13 minutes left to go. But Robin Pagano is looking very cool, very calm, and he's just pushing, prodding Mikowski just to see if Kristanov will make any mistakes there.
I love that we sort of have our own little class in the field. It's almost like in the VLN where you have that, the Porsche Cup class that just sort of battles on their own for the whole race, whilst everyone else has a bit of fun in the GT3s and the GT4s and stuff. And then we just have this Porsche battle that's been going on for about 30 minutes now. And I don't think it's showing any signs of stopping for the next 12 minutes. It's pretty awesome to see that the drivers were able... I mean, yes, we saw that a little bit of contact earlier, instigated, I think, if I remember correctly, by the 225. But it was pretty minor. And generally speaking, we've been pretty clean. But talking of pretty clean, or talking the opposite of pretty clean, I said about how those gentlemanly gestures can sometimes get you out of a penalty report. That didn't happen. They reported after that contact we saw, that Lamborghini got reported in the end. So that didn't work. They're still going to be investigated by the stewards. But it is also that sometimes the stewards will be nicer. Always the stewards will be nicer if you concede the position.
It's general common courtesy, and again the relationship these drivers have. I'll come back to that in just a second. Luke, this is all kicking off now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th place as well. Maybe not so much 8th at the moment just now, but it might be. Sheldon Muscat just, and I mean literally just, ahead of Martin Schumacher in 7:21, 0.2 of a second. Muscat doing a great job making that Bentley as wide as he possibly can. The NSN Sprint Z Racing machine of Rob Taplin, teammates with John Munro, of course, the 214, making his way around the track as well, just behind this little battle. And there goes Alan Kensland, your current championship leader. He is now firmly locked on to the back of that Bentley. He had dropped off a little bit. Oh, look at that, the Lamborghini at 289 gets a 5-second penalty. That is going to be for that contact there. There is Rob Taplin looking every which way, tries to switch it up to the outside, then to the inside, distracts the BMW enough to allow Sheldon Muscat and the Bentley to get a little bit of breathing room, and the cars just take that little bit of a moment to breathe in, recoup and rethink about what they're going to do, because we've got 10 minutes left to go in this final Sprint Cup race for Season 2, and you get the feeling, Luke, that this is just all going to kick off.
Yeah, I think it's probably a battle for 5th, 6th and 7th, as if Enslin's doing any thinking right now, his only thought should be, don't get involved, because if he gets involved, then, he has a moment, pushes him back outside the top 15, and suddenly his championship's under threat. So just holding on to this 8th position is probably going to be his goal, but sometimes you can't resist when those opportunities become available, and I think they probably will if this battle continues.
Just to pick up on what is being chatted about in YouTube chats from Shanti and Ross McGregor, it is of course Mike Yow that is providing the amazing audio-visual treat that we're so used to here as the benchmark of standard provided here at the sim grids, and it's just awesome because we get the most amazing camera angles and the most amazing coverage. And if we need anything, if we need replays or we want to cut to a battle, all we have to do is say it behind the scenes, and no sooner said than done. So thank you very much, Mike, and to Michael Hamlet as well for just being the I'm trying to think of a polite word for this, the brains behind the scenes. We'll settle with that. Schumacher going a little bit wide, getting a little bit hot into that final corner, and that consequently drives out Taplin a little bit wide. That's going to compromise his exit speed, and Enslin is going to be back onto the back of this. Muscat breathing a big sigh of relief because now these two are fighting amongst themselves. Taplin again is going to try and outcook him on the entrance to the Crocodiles, and this is an awesome race right now. Absolutely loving how this is all developing just now, and just seeing the way that the 214 is trying so hard to put this under pressure. Look at how close Alan Kensland gets in the rear view mirrors of Rob Taplin. The brakes were almost not even applied on that final corner there, and that was an awesome final sector for Alan Kensland in the 888 Coach Dave Academy car. He's starting to look racy, and I wonder if he's going to even chance it, given that he's just 8.5 minutes between taking that championship title, Luke.
Yeah, I think what he's going to try and do here is sit right on that bumper and wait for the sort of the mistakes. If there's a bit of contact in front, use that to gain that opportunity. But I mean, he might go for some overtakes, but I think he's probably just going to sit where he is. There's such a big gap behind. I mean, I guess he can afford to have a small moment, but if he goes for an overtake and it spins him out and goes into the wall and gets a lot of damage, that will lose him his championship. There's no other way to put it. So you have to be careful right now. But on the contrary, if you're the 721 or the 214, you're not in a position in the championship where you're fighting for a top 3 or anything, as we see a bit of a bump here for 21st place. But if you're the 214 and the 721, you're not towards the top of the championship fighting for third place. I'll come back to it as we see a dive bomb, and that's not worked out. Second minute contact in 3 corners and a spin right in front of the field here for the 181 car. He's able to get away unscathed, or relatively unscathed, as he loses a lot of time there, but a dive bomb that just did not work there, and it was the second time we saw him make contact with the car he was trying to overtake there. So that was not the smartest driving I've ever seen. I'll put it that way.
And that's been polite. Right, Sheldon Muscat did breathe a sigh of relief, and it's all gone now because he's under huge pressure, side by side almost, as Martin Schumacher. 7 minutes left to go in the race. Here we go. This is Richard Lindhorst up the inside the Lamborghini with the Porsche. Oh, contact! A big sideswipe there from Richard Lindhorst. And trying to take that place from Kirill Antonov, thinks better of it, and the Bentley still trying to hold on to that position. We said the BMW in the first half did an amazing job of holding up that position, and Sheldon Muscat is taking up the honour of being the widest car on track right now. He is under all sorts of pressure. Martin Schumacher, Rob Taplin and Alan Kenseth throwing taps, bath plugs, everything but the kitchen sink at Sheldon Muscat right now, and he's still holding strong. What an effort, what a lesson in defensive driving from Sheldon Muscat right now.
Yeah, he's putting a bit of a clinic on right now in terms of holding on to his position. He was saying that the 721 was probably going to find it perhaps easier, I think is the best way to put it, not easy. So we see a lunge behind from the 214 car, but he made it work. You know, he got into the inside there and he didn't overshoot it, and it's almost worked out. But no, the grunty goodness of the 721 leaving the local hairpin at the top of the hill has enabled him to hold on to this position for now. And I say for now because in these 5 minutes 40, I don't think Taplin's going to hold back.
Oh my goodness me, this is awesome stuff. I think it did look like the 214 did sort of let off a little bit, and that's what I love about that, when drivers kind of self-moderate themselves. They know that was maybe a little bit naughty, and just as we saw a couple of laps ago, we saw that position being handed back after the little bit of a nudge there, and it wasn't even close to that. But back with the battle for third place then, and this is the highest place battle that we've got going on right now, because Kirill Antonov holding on to this place ahead of Richard Lindhorst, and yeah, this is awesome stuff there. Just looking at your championship contenders. Oh, look at that. Tinko van der Velde now down into 10th position, because Despres has got up to 9th position now as well. So that has pretty much secured the championship with 4.5 minutes left to go. Here we go then, back watching Martin Schumacher trying to hunt down Sheldon Muscat. And again, Muscat gets a gap of about 1.5 seconds, and within 4 corners of a lap, it's gone. It's completely extinguished, Luke.
And the big problem for the 721 car is that the exact part of the track where they lose the most time is that sort of final connection of corners, especially the sort of the slowing down and the speeding up. They have that great top speed, but the acceleration and the braking isn't quite there. And that's what we see just here, is that Bentley is able to shoot up the inside under braking, but again, that top speed pulls the BMW back into the position. But in terms of going forward, in terms of catching Muscat, they just can't really get close enough for that start-finish straight, where, you know, on the start-finish straight, they're gaining 3-4 tenths on the other cars around them, but they lose 3 or 4 tenths in the final few corners, so it just sort of balances out. And when that happens and you can't get close enough to get that really nice bit of toe and get close enough to make that move to the inside into turn 1, you're just not going to be able to make overtakes happen. And that's why we're sort of seeing this status quo that is causing this concertina that's brought the 214 and has brought the 888 into this battle, and why I think these last couple of laps are going to be a little bit crazy.
I'm finding where all my heart medication and energy drink are all located, because I'm going to need them for the next 3 minutes of this final race of the season here. It's the Sprint Cup Season 2 here on the Sim Grid. David Christie and Luke Rogers here who have been bringing you all of the coverage tonight. It's Jan Willem van Oomen who has been the man out up in front, the 39 machine ahead of Vicky Thompson in the 889. We see the 214 of Rob Taplin just drifting away from Martin Schumacher a little bit into the clutches of the 888 of Alan Kenseth. Alan Kenseth, obviously the Coach Dave Academy, the championship leaders just now, 2 3/4 minutes away from putting their hands on the title, the second Sprint Cup season that we've had here at the Sim Grid. But Martin Schumacher again just drifting back a little bit slightly into the clutches of the Bentley, and this is thrilling stuff. The battle for third and fourth place has calmed down just a little bit, and I mean a very tiny little bit, as Kirill Antonov holds on to that final podium position. But yeah, this is a storming race, and this is going to be a wild final 2 laps, Luke.
And there's also that potential for the battle for third place between Lindhorst and Antonov that is sort of just simmering right now. We brought it to the boil, and now we're just waiting for that moment where the kettle clicks off, where the hot water's ready to pour into the tea. And I think over the last lap or so, we might see Lindhorst go for an overtake here for that third place. But also we have that battle that we've seen for so long now for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. We look further down, 11th, 12th, 13th, we have the Porsche battle that's been going on since the last pit stop. There's even battles down below 20th for positions that ultimately don't really matter. It's all through this field that we see these battles, and it's pretty awesome to see that after 90 minutes, pretty long race after pit stop, we still have these close battles, these multi-car battles that are so entertaining to watch.
Wow. Right, your race leader, Jan Willem van Ommen, fastest personal best, 1:41.4. So that is blistering pace from Jan, doing the personal best on that last lap there. Fuel consumption is going to be a big thing as well, because obviously that car's going to be massively light now compared to when it started the race here. But Rob Taplin getting a heck of a run on the BMW. We're into the final minute here of the race here. This is your race leader, Jan Willem van Ommen, going across the line to start the last lap, actually, sorry. And it's been a fantastic performance from Jan Willem van Ommen in the 39 car. To do the undercut on the 889 in that Lexus from Jan Willem van Ommen, taking over from the amazing work that Valentin Barrier did. It's a bit of a gut punch for the Lexus drivers, isn't it, Luke? They were looking so strong, and they got absolutely mugged in the pits.
Yeah, the one saving grace for them is that it's not affected their championship position. They're still going to overtake the 96 for second place and make it that 1-2 for the Coach Dave Academy. Obviously with the 888, provided they survive this lap, winning the championship. But especially, I want to shout out to Van Ommen and Thompson, because both of them in the final race of the season have stepped in to cars that admittedly only one of them was contending for the title. But the 39 is still, they were in the top 5 coming into this. They're still competing for a good championship position. And I think we'll actually get into the top 3, if I can do maths correctly. I believe they will be 3rd in the standings. They will overtake the 96 car for that. So both drivers have come in the final race. There we go, 3rd place for them on the final race of the season. So both drivers have come in to this important race, replaced the driver that's been driving for the whole season, and done a solid job and got themselves, both drivers up a position on the standings.
Yep, and into Ingwe for the final time comes out of the final corner Jan Willem van Ommen to win the final race of the season here at the SimGrid Sprint Cup Season 2. It's a great performance for the Jardier Community Car, the number 39 outfit, to win the race here. And we go back, it's going to be Vicky Thompson in second place, fairly secure there, around about 18 seconds behind your race leader, Kirill Antonov. Goes and holds on to that place from Richard Lindhorst and Florian Becker. A brilliant fight to the end there, but it's all about this. Is Sheldon Muscat going to hold on with that Bentley? I think he does. He's got the measure of the BMW. What a spirited drive though from Martin Schumacher in the 721 BMW there. Alan Kenson takes 7th place on the line there. The Bentley down into 8th. And looks like Robin Pigarl just going to miss out on 11th place there. Tinko van der Velde is into 10th place. So that confirms their 3rd place in the championship. It's Krzysztof Maskowski in 11th place. Robin Pigarl in 12th. It's Thibaut Prost in 13th place. Yannick Hamer in 14th place. Darren King will finish the Fordzilla 38 car in 15th place. It's Halley in 16th and Kirill Soldatov down in 17th place. My goodness me, Luke, that was for the leading 2, that was fairly straightforward. An amazing mid-pack battle through the whole field.
This Sprint Cup felt like a Sunday roast back at my mum's house because we saved the best till last. That was a pretty awesome race. I mean, it was chaotic, I think is the way to put it, but I do love a bit of chaos, especially in my races. we've had incidents, we've had drama, we've had drivers getting quite annoyed, which always makes some interesting driving. But more importantly, we've had clean, entertaining, and long battles throughout the field. We've had changes in the top three, 2 changes positions in the top 3 in the final race for those top 2 teams in obviously the 89 and the 39 car with their final race of the season. But I also want to give a shout out to the whole field, because lap 1 was actually surprisingly clean. I mean, we didn't quite keep that cleanness through the whole race, but there was those crunch points throughout the lap on lap 1 that you usually see cause some incident. I mean, I raced in the Kyalami one-off event in SimGrid. I want to say about 4 months ago. I think it was in September or October, sorry. And lap 1, guy in 3rd place, spin sideways in turn 2. The entire field piled in. There was a massive pile up. I was kind of worried we'd have the same thing again today, but no, we had a clean lap 1, and that set us up for the race that we had. Those battles throughout the field, but also that qualifying, with the wet conditions, it put drivers out of position, some too high, some too low. I mean, admittedly, it caused drama with cars like the 777 getting a bit over aggressive, but I think it made for a really great race.
Oh, it was an awesome race, a fitting end to the season, and you can see there it's the 888 Coach Dave Academy car taking first place in the championship from second place. It's a fantastic 1-2 for the Coach Dave Academy 888 car and the 889 car as well. We are going to take a very short commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we will have driver interviews and some more debrief from the Sprint Cup. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Season 2 of the Sprint Cup here at SimGrid is done, dusted, and in the books. It's David Christie and Luke Rogers here taking you through the debrief session, and what a race we had in store for you tonight. It was an amazing race won by the 39 outfit, the Jardier community outfit of Jan Willem van Ommen, who took the opening honours there. Of course, it was his teammate Valentin Barrier on the start line there. We'll try and get them in just now. I can see Valentin in the chat, so we'll get a word with him and see what he has to say for himself. Very good evening, Valentin, and congratulations on a very well-deserved win.
Thank you very much. Yeah, finally the win. That was... I'm not sure what to say. That was really good.
Right, just between you and me, Valentin, right? The one race that Jardier doesn't race in, you win it. Did we read something into that?
I don't know.
Talk us through the race though, because obviously you guys had it in control in the second half, but you had to do that undercut.
Yeah. I was pushing really hard behind James on the first stint. I was always trying to keep the pressure on him, but so the Bentley compared to Lexus, I was always much better than him on the brakes. So I was always able to catch up like a tenth or two every time on the brakes, especially on the hairpin. But every time with the acceleration, the Lexus was much better, so it was practically impossible for me to make a move. So I was trying to stay as close as him behind him as possible, so in case if he makes a mistake, I can't get him. But actually, I was the one that made the mistake, and on the second to last corner twice, actually, I jumped on the curb on the inside, and that made me lost like 2 seconds, but we did a great undercut.
And obviously it had massive implications for your championship. My broken maths, I think that puts you third in the championship, and that is a great end to the season.
Yeah, for sure. That's the best ending as possible, obviously. I was not expecting the P1 on Kyalami with the Bentley, to be honest, but here we go. It happened, so obviously that's very good. P3 is very good in championship as well.
And obviously this week we've had the big news of announcing Season 2 of the World Cup. Are we going to see Valentin Barrier back out in action for that?
Yes, 100%.
Are you going to share some of that 20,000 if you get it?
Sorry?
the top prize, the prize pool is around about $20,000.
Yeah.
Do you want to slip maybe £5 to your favourite commentator? And Luke.
£5. That's okay. That's okay.
Excellent stuff. You heard it here. That is a verbal contract up here in Scotland, folks. So we'll be to that. Valentin Barre, congratulations to you and to the Jardier team. It's been awesome seeing you this season, and we look forward to seeing you again on track very soon.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
There we go. Well, it's always great fun to have a chat there. Right, let us bring in. We'll bring in James Parker, because obviously for the 889 Lexus team, James, it was an awesome first stint for yourself, but you've unfortunately got done on the undercut there. But it was still a great performance.
Yeah, it was good fun. I wanted it to stay wet, to be fair, because the car's much quicker in the wet relatively to the other cars in the dry. So I knew we'd have a tough time in the dry on our hands against the faster cars like the Ferraris and Bentleys and Lambos, etc. So I expected them to always jump us either in or around the stops. Valentin drove a good first stint. And yes, I mean, fair play to Vicky. She did an amazing job. Super sub in last minute. No real experience with the car. Just did the best job I could hope for, really. So would have been nice to finish off the season with a win, but I guess after the difficult Monza we had, a podium at an unfavoured track is probably the best consolation.
And it doesn't look too bad when you get a Coach Dave Academy 1-2 as well. Obviously taking second place in the championship. Was that factoring at all when you were driving, or you were maybe talking to Vicky through her second stint?
Did we get it? I wasn't sure if we were going to get P2.
I believe so. So we'll take that tentatively. Yeah, you've got second place. I've just had that confirmed right here by Michael Hamlet. Amazing, yeah, because I was keeping an eye on it was the 96, wasn't it? I think we were racing in the championship, and I was keeping an eye on it. And as soon as the guys jumped us in the stops for P1, I did just say to Vicky, just bring it home P2, just manage the gap to Antonov and the Porsche behind, and that should be enough. But I wasn't actively checking the championship just to manage her race, so. I didn't want to get too excited and then find out we hadn't made it. So, but yes, that's good news to finish the night on, I have to say. Well, congratulations, buddy, and we look forward to seeing you, James, back on track for the 889 Lexus in many more seasons to come. No worries, guys. Thanks very much. There we go, James Parker there, and I guess our final interview of the night has to be your championship winners, Alaric Enslin and Gregor Schill. Guys, it's a fantastic championship win for yourselves, and you really had to work for it tonight.
Gregor can start because he was driving first.
Yeah, Gregor, I have to come to you first. How many swear words were you saying in Discord tonight?
Well, I don't know. Where should I start? Like, the start was actually quite good. I was like on the inside for turn 1. Everything worked well. And suddenly, like for turn 4 for the left-hander, I was on the outside. I can't remember how. But then, like, I saw a car on the inside of me trying to overtake me, and I thought, like, hey, we're not driving here for like the best position. We just need to, get our top 10, top 15 or so to, get the championship. So I actually went a little bit on the grass there to just prevent any contact. And then there, I think I lost already like 3 places or so. Then I think even in the first lap or second lap, I had like a quite tricky situation with one Lambo in Cheetah. Like, we were side by side, and I left him like a lot of room, but I still got like a touch on the inside, and then I got into the gravel, and then we were like P14, and we thought like, shit, we can't chill and bring the car home now. We actually need to, really work hard for the positions, to overtake a lot of cars back. And I actually only could overtake like 2 cars or 3 cars, and I was stuck behind a Porsche for such a long time because I just couldn't bring the power down on the exits, and that was like the only opportunity to overtake the Porsche then on the start-finish straight. So we knew that we needed, to do something different with the strategy. So we went like as early as possible into the pits, think actually 1 lap delayed because there was like a crash, a cheetah, so we just had to, go for 1 lap more to not lose any time on the entry. And then from the pit stop onwards, like Ulti was, I think, P8 top 10. We gained like a lot of places in the pit, so from there we were quite safe. Then like the biggest Cobra moment in the race was like 28 minutes to go, and I just got disconnected from the server. I just saw Ulti like flying straight through sunset, and I was like, don't tell me that I'm losing like again it's a championship or at Kyalami with the disconnect or game freeze. And luckily it was only me, the second driver or the driver who was spectating. And yeah, that's like from my side for the race, but maybe Ulti wants something to add.
Oh man, I was just eating popcorn, watching some battles at the back. I was just chilling. Yeah, I mean, have to thank Gregor for an amazing season. Also SimGrid, obviously. I mean, I have to apologize on behalf of Split 1 to the stewards. I know that definitely wasn't probably one of the cleanest races. But yeah, extremely happy. I mean, we came into this league not that prepared, I'd say, not for every race. I mean, but yeah, we pulled it off, and yeah, really chuffed with it.
I'd just talk us through that final 10-15 minutes, Alaric, because obviously you were getting very close to that mad battle for fourth, fifth, and sixth and seventh as well. And you were getting drawn into it, but quite a few times it just looked like you were maybe just easing off a little bit and letting them fight amongst themselves. Was that the case, or were you guys really struggling with that Ferrari tonight?
Oh no, exactly. I mean, we were just trying to play it safe. I mean, I was actually literally fuel saving and tire saving in the end. Just watching the battle and seeing if someone made a mistake. I mean, even in the last lap, one of the Bentleys made a mistake, and I overtook him through the last corner, so that was nice. But yeah, I mean, we didn't push at all. We were just literally trying to get the car home in a position where we know we can take the championship.
And on that note, I'm really curious to hear what the championship celebrations are going to be like tonight. Are you boys going to be getting wild over Zoom tonight?
Yeah, definitely. Some champagne bottles already, cold in the fridge. I guess they will be opened after. I mean,
alcohol is banned in South Africa, so I can't drink anything.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So,
you'll be sitting with a glass of apple juice and a little poiky happening.
Exactly. Exactly that. It sounds like a good fun.
Got to love it, guys. Listen, Gregor Schill, Alan Kenson, your Season 2 champions for the SimGrid Sprint Cup. It's been awesome seeing you throughout the season, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Enjoy the championship, guys, and thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think you commentators also need to, have a big shout out. It's always nice 100%. To see, if you watch different streams, and then come to SimGrid. I mean, it looks so professional. It's like almost like a TV show. It's, the broadcast is perfect. The commentators do a good job. They have a good overview, over the places. It's not like you're just keeping an eye on what happens at the front. You just have like a really good overview what happens everywhere, and everybody, gets to be in the stream. And also, like, the commentators also create like a lot of tension. It's really entertaining to watch. And also, like, a big thanks to you for making such a awesome broadcast that we can, also watch like the stream basically after the race, and just also get into this mood, the adrenaline going, so big thanks to you.
Well, guys, thank you so much for that. We very much appreciate those kind words, and again, we look forward to seeing you next time on track.
Yeah, definitely. See you. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
There we go then. Alan Kensline and Gregor Schill, your Season 2 champions for the SimGrid Sprint Cup. Luke, my goodness me, what an amazing season we've had, and I just cannot wait for it to all kick off again.
Yeah, I mean, we have to point out that this is the start of things to come this year for SimGrid. There's so many events. Currently, we still have the Endurance Championship going on. I can't remember the exact date. I will get the date. But the next race is fairly soon. 6th, there we go. Saturday the 6th, next week. That's the next round of the Endurance Cup. And then soon we have the World Cup coming up as well. The $20,000 prize pool. The first, I mean, it's the second time we've had the World Cup, but the first sort of event on this scale that SimGrid has run. We've got the prize pool. It's going to be the best drivers in ACC competing across multiple endurance events for, quite frankly, a pretty big prize. And I'm just looking forward to that. If this is a sign of what's to come, yes, it wasn't the cleanest race tonight, but it was bloody exciting one, throughout the field we had those battles. It's a sign that I think that World Cup is going to be the SimGrid event in terms of viewing experience. And when we got Mike on the broadcast, making it look good, people like you making me look good by helping me out with commentary and
I thought you
making it a lot easier for me
by getting things wrong.
Yeah, make me look good. But we've got a great product, I think, going along. We've got some great backers in Coach Dave Academy, Thrustmaster, just to name a few. And there are more getting on every day, and having this event, this World Cup sort of looming after what we've seen from the Spring Cup, it just makes me quite excited for what's to come.
Yeah, the not only the production that we work so hard at, yourself, Luke, and Mike Yao, Simply Race, who does all the audio-visual stuff that you see here on the stream, and Michael Hamlet as well, who does the logistics and keeps us up to date. He's really the sort of the overseer and whispers all the sweet nothings into our ear. It's an amazing crew that we've got here. As you said, our commercial backers at Coach Dave Academy and Thrustmaster as well. We really wouldn't be able to offer as much as we could without the support of them. On that bombshell then, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains to say from myself, David Christie, Luke Rogers, from our production team of Mike Yao and Michael Hamlet, thank you so much for watching this season. We have got so much more to come in store. Stick around, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, head over to the SimGrid and get yourself part of the community, and we will see you soon for another round of incredible races here at the SimGrid.